It's your show.
All right, so everybody, welcome. I just want to welcome to my first ever podcast, and I am really excited to introduce. I wouldn't consider you my heroes per se, but you're definitely up there as far as someone I want to get to know and learn a lot from. I think, what was it, back in February or March? Probably February. We kind of started talking on, I think, Facebook. You remember that?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And basically we got to know each other a little bit. I started watching your videos. You invited me to the best Facebook page I found for dog trainers, the Effective Dog Behavior Group. And if anybody out there, congratulations. You guys do a great job with that. It's basically the dream site for trainers that are into science and want to talk about taking training beyond your typical behaviorism, punishments, rewards, clickers, treats. I mean, we all know there's way more to it. And I think anybody that's worked with dogs or spends a lot of time with dogs knows that if you're sitting there with a clicker going click treat, click treat, click treat, you're missing something. You may get awesome results, but to me it's very robotic and very mechanical. So some of the big things I notice is the way you talk to the dogs, the way you take into account where they're at emotionally, physically, that their needs are being met. And then once all that is taken care of and they know that you're there to help them, then that's where the real relationship and life with you and your dog can flourish. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I do want to state that it's not that we're mainly focusing on the affective neuroscience, the neuroscience, social neuroscience, while combining behaviorism, stuff that we already know. Like the stuff you can go to school for. It's just certain things we just noticed. Why don't dogs just run away from us if they get completely punished, or why do they refuse treats? Like, no matter how positive you are, some dogs are just like, it just doesn't work. And then why is it? It takes time to help a dog want to come to you. So effective dog behavior is about, what is a dog trying to tell us that they want to feel safe? And that's where effective dog behavior comes in, is understanding when the dog needs to feel safe. Self-expression is a big part of, isn't that one of the five welfares? Self-expression, free to express yourself.
Yep, self-determination.
Yeah, and it's treats are great, but I don't think my dog has ever rewarded me. No, Belle has. She's brought me a gopher a couple of times.
That's awesome. A present.
But but why aren't the dogs doing the same to us? They're showing us with different things, and it's motivations and are always changing, and we just want to understand why do we have to feel like we have to do mark everything, to show. If I had a girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I did that to her, gold digger and accepting it all the time, or I would be sleeping on the couch, or worse, the dog would be sleeping in the bed and I'd be sleeping in the doghouse.
Yep. I remember my daughter, when I first became a dog trainer, I was like trying to use positive reinforcement. Good job. She's like, you know what? I'm not a dog. So, it comes in many forms. So, with humans, you have to be a little more subtle because they're well aware of people trying to manipulate or feeding them a line of BS. Whereas dogs, unless you really tease them and manipulate them and mess with their head a lot, they really trust and expect that you're going to deliver what you've promised you're going to deliver. And even if you don't a few times, you've bought, with your history and relationship. So,
Yeah, they know
I guess, yeah. So
sorry.
I guess, I taking a step back. I mean, I came from a human service background. I work with individuals with developmental disabilities. A lot of behavioral houses, group homes where someone thought it was a great idea to take multiple people with behavior issues and put them all together and expect that would help them do better. But just like with dogs, if you have a couple dogs that have behavioral issues or adjustment issues, aggression issues, they tend to set each other off. So, a lot of our job was kind of keeping it calm and redirecting people away from each other and helping them to each cope with each other's difficulties. And I think with dogs, you find the same thing, if I'm not mistaken. They compound each other's issues.
Yes.
Not, oh, I'm going to get another dog to balance out and help my other dogs, have friends and playmates. It's, now you're adding more issues, especially if they're rescue dogs with baggage. So I think that's where we come in. I mean, that's kind of my forte. I come into the situation and it's very stressful for the dogs, the people. And where do you start? You can't put out little fires. You have to kind of get to the root of it and almost start over. That's kind of the way I look at it. You got to take baby steps, learn to walk, learn to crawl, in the right order, or else you're going to fall down.
Yeah.
So,
but you also have to know what the root is.
well, right. And sometimes you don't know. You just got to kind of, split behaviors and get to the bottom of it. Or if you have no idea, you build them back up. Confidence, resiliency, things we deal with all the time. But your average dog owner is like, what are you even talking about?
Yes.
He just doesn't want to do it. It's like, well, teach them how to do it. Show them, build their confidence, demonstrate. Whoops, I lost you.
I'm sorry.
Our camera.
I lost you. I got
Can you hear us?
color bars.
Yeah,
I can hear you, but the picture's gone.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, we're using a different actual.
All right, welcome back.
So
I
okay.
hope that doesn't.
Okay. So I guess, like I was saying, my background, I work with humans with developmental disabilities. So I used a lot of, positive reinforcement. I worked on a behavior team. We had a PhD that would write the behavior plans and do the assessments. And then we would kind of give them to the staff to, do the day-to-day reinforcement and, behavior plans. So it gave me a real good experience working with, just, humans. They have the right to say no. They have a right to tell you to go F off. They have a right to say, I don't want to do anything you want me to do. And, I am bigger than you. And sometimes they have a lot of energy, just like some dogs, but, most dogs are smaller than we are. So
Yeah.
At a certain point, you get really frustrated because there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape in the way. It's like, I know how to help you. I have a relationship with you, but I have to follow this plan that's written by some guy that met you once a couple years ago. So it becomes very frustrating. And at that point, I was like, well, what can I do with these skills? Behavior modification, helping people and, families that are kind of in weird predicaments and dogs.
Yes.
I've been working with my own dog, trying to help him. He had a lot of anxiety and behavioral concerns. And, I was getting frustrated. I'm like, I know behavior, I know, the science of it, but putting that into practice, I think, is the art form. So with you guys, that's kind of the way I see it as, Scott, you're the kind of the artist. You're, the dog guru. You get dogs, and you too, Diana, but you're more the science and the nuts and bolts and the mechanics and the biochemistry, which, I'm kind of between both worlds. And I think you guys have definitely learned a lot from each other. And I can see that where you kind of complement each other. And that's why I'm so drawn to you two guys, because you're not saying, well, it's all about the behavior and it's not all about their emotional state. It's the whole package and,
Yes.
your dog's life and your life with your dog. I mean, that's kind of my mantra is you want to get your dog to the point where you can just enjoy life together as opposed to always fighting. And a big concept, I think, that as the root of it is being in conflict with your dog. You guys both have different agendas. He wants to go do this. You want him to go do that. And if they happen to align, that's a good day. But on most days, most dogs and their owners are, it's a shit show for some people. And it's frustrating. And I get that. And I walk in and, the first thing I tell people, and you probably do the same thing, everyone just take a deep breath, get it together. You have to bring your arousal down. And then you help your dog bring their arousal down. And, watching Scott, like within 5 minutes of watching a video of you, Scott, I knew exactly where you're coming from, where your brain is at, how you understand the dogs. And I appreciate that. Like it's like watching an artist Yeah, I mean, take a bow. I mean, you've been doing this for how long now?
About 25,
20 years?
25 years.
Right. And
And
I
most,
mean, and this is kind of where the gaps come in because I know of you, but I know a lot about you and your history. So if you guys want to kind of maybe talk about your history and how you got, where you met each other and kind of got where you are now.
okay. Well, so just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, my history is I'm crossover. Okay, so I used to follow a certain TV personality, and yes, because
the Dog Whisperer man.
I'm not
Me
going to
too. Yes, that's where I started.
because I was dealing with some aggression issues, and and so even though I was able to manage those issues, there was something missing, and there was something missing from me, and there was something missing from my dogs. And one day, one of his videos popped up, and he was talking about it was nighttime. He was close to the beach, and he was walking two pit bulls, and he was explaining why you don't need to control your dog with the leash, but you only control you don't control your dog. You build a relationship. And I thought,
Yep.
duh, this is exactly the missing link. This is what I wanted to have. I wanted to have a relationship with the dogs and not just manage, and so I contacted him. He's always right there helping people. And, that was 4.5 years ago. So that was my background. I've been around dogs forever, but, as a kid, you're more natural, kind of, sort of, but it kind of gets lost when you're around trainers.
And as you get older,
In all honesty,
Yeah, and I see it right there. I see it right there. The key.
Everything else.
Yep.
When you get older, nothing is as
you're
much
up there,
fun.
yes,
Yeah.
and you're more cognitive. You're trying to explain it and not feel it.
Yeah.
And
right.
he was different, but his background is his own to talk about.
Right. And I just want to interrupt 1 second. I see it right there on your shirt, that word play. And that's, a big part of it.
Yep.
Yep. It brings you back to your childhood where you can explore things in a playful and safe manner. Like
Yep.
even kids playing, kids playing, dogs playing, they're mimicking like some aggressive behaviors. You're playing, you tackle each other, dogs are jumping on each other, biting at each other. And that's where they learn to control those urges to kill and, those aggressive hunting instincts.
Social rules. This is where that's a great introduction right there. So, because it involves with a lot of almost everything. Play, every single one of these are primary emotional systems. I don't know if you can fully see that, but play, when we use it as capitals,
yep.
Jock Panskip, Dr. Jock Panskip, Dr. Stuart Brown, Jock Panskip was one of the first to discover its own neural circuitry of play. Meaning, like everybody you see National Geographic growing up, if you didn't focus on the alpha, you focused on why the puppies or why the little lion cubs, or almost every mammal species they focused on. Nat Geo was able to play around, and it was always to get ready for the hunt. Well, come to find out, it is one of the most rewarding systems in your brain. So you have more, literally just layman's terms, you have more moving parts being activated. Jock says, Dr. Jock Panskip, the rat tickler, says it's literally your brain lighting up like a Christmas tree. So you're learning your cognitive function, you're learning your social rules, you're learning cultural beliefs, constantly, like if you really watch dogs play, and he uses rats, and it's amazing to watch him use rats. I mean, it's science, it's what they use, lab rats and mice.
Right.
But they were using cats. Cats weren't as social. But when they use mice, everything is social. A lot of the experiments are about being social. The cocaine abuse was about being social. The rat castle, the rat maze. Being social help cure things. But so with Jock, he was able to find out the difference. The biggest thing with Jock was he opened up the brain and was able to say, if I press here, Can you turn it off? Do you like this? And can you turn it off? Not just, oh, look, if I stab here, the arm goes out. If I stab here, wow. It was, if I stab here, or not stab, if I put a minute electrical stimulation in these parts of the brain, what will happen? Can you turn it off? Do you like this? Is this rewarding? Because they already had kind of the rewards, what they used to call reward centers, mapped out in the brain. So he already had that history behind him, and he was just taking it to the next step because he always wondered, why do we feel this way? Why do we get happy? There's always studies on fear and rage, but never the real positive ones. It was always, we try to figure out what's wrong. Then we'll figure out what's better. Then we'll work backwards. But go ahead.
But also there's you might want to point out, because there's a difference between play and play.
Yeah. There's free play and there's structured play.
Yes. So we are talking about the unstructured free play.
The zoomies, the random digging, the random jumping up, the random roughhousing, the wrestling. Why do kids like to come in and make up stupid rules to the game? Hey, let's play. And then you come in and they start throwing them around and making stuff and cracking jokes. And you're like, wait,
doesn't make sense.
That's not the way I learned it. But you know what's interesting? One thing I found that was common amongst kids and dogs, that's just a theory, hypothesis, whatever you want to take it. Both of them know how to play tag.
Yes.
There's always a safe spot. They
Keep
run
away. Yep.
away. And it's fun for the individuals. Meaning, as selfish as it is, and you look at kids and puppies, they're selfish. So if they're selfish,
oh man.
If they're selfish, then why? It's because the brain is actually rewarding and learning the social rules. So these things, like you can learn, you can learn games, but the urge to play is innate. So that's why it's so important. Like,
I mean, when dogs first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if you notice this too, but when dogs first meet, the first thing they have to negotiate is, can you take the pressure off me? Can you give me some space and back off if I need it? And as soon as they can do that, they're best friends.
Yeah, and that's why working in doggy daycares, and when I teach people who want to bring dogs to dog parks, I bring out dogs for interview process. The new dog has got all these different, the warehouse I used to work at, the place I used to work at was huge. Smells, it's been there for many years. Yep. So the dog is into a brand new sensory overload situation. We go out to the backyard. I let them de-stress, do what they have to do, get upset, anything they want to do because it's highly stimulating. I don't know anything that they're smelling, but I know any given day I've got 50 to 70 dogs, if not more. If it's a holiday, I've got close to 200 dogs, excuse me.
Yep.
And they've all gone to the bathroom. They've all shedded. They've all played. There's, pheromones. Everything's flying all over the place.
Grand Central Station, yeah.
So I always bring out, the first dog I bring out is not one that's not going to be social, but I don't want one that's going to just it's going to want to pay attention to me. So if I call the dog, not just more likely to recall and be obedient, but when they come out, the other dog's going to go show interest right away. But I want my dog to be able to leave that dog alone and look for me for help. Then I can mimic and go, thank you, I appreciate that, and give the other dog treats. And once they start backing off of each other and are giving each other space, then I know they're not so focused on each other that nothing else matters.
Yep.
Now, the rest, if they include me in the game, then I know they're really being social and they're really taking in their whole environment, not just that immediate dog that I must play to de-stress. And a lot of times it's de-stress play. And like you said, to take that pressure off. If you can leave me alone, I trust you more. I have a safe emotional response. And that immediately is rewarding in the brain. It's not cookie rewarding. It's just so much more rewards going through the brain, more dopamine release, more oxytocin, more able to be social with the whole environment, not just one specific aspect of it. So yeah, I love that.
I mean, there's so much more. Yeah, there's so much more. I'm like, if it's just about the cookie, then you're missing a lot.
Yeah.
The cookie's the icing on the cake, not the whole meal. So
that's the thank you for doing a good job. Not the paycheck, it's the thank you for doing a good job.
Yep. And here, let's have some fun. The idea is to build value yourself, the experience is enjoying what you do together. And that's, a cookie's nice with that, but if you go fishing, you can drink some beers, but you're still there trying to catch some fish and hanging out.
Yeah. And that's part of it. It's not just that just the dog has fun. The human does too.
That's the beauty of play.
Because the same neurochemicals are released in the human brain.
Yes, you can't forget the
Oh,
human.
yeah.
You know, it's the connection, the relationship. It's twofold. There are two parties involved.
Yeah,
Yep. And then once the oxytocin, you get that flowing, and then it's all gravy.
you get your oxytocin, you got the opioids are increasing. You're not having emotional pain. You're feeling safe to express yourself. An accident happens.
Yep.
Step on my dog's toe. We're easily to recover, building resilience.
Mm-hmm.
The heart
must shake it off. Try again.
And then we're not even, it's already happening before a shake-off happens. A shake-off happens because this parasympathetic nervous system is saying it's time to relax. It's time to go take care of some basic needs. Let's go for a walk. We're still going to be social, but that brings you to being homeostasis. So you can play calmer. You can go for a walk, you can go to drink water. You're not going to devour gallons of water and then puke it out.
Right. Yeah, and that cycle, I mean, once you're aware of that cycle, you know, the stress and then de-stress, you can pinpoint it. Be like, okay, he's going to turn away, he's going to go sniff, he's going to pee, he's going to get a drink of water, he's going to come connect with me, give him some love and a little, you know, go play again, have fun.
And can't you just see a protocol there that this flows? It's almost like a protocol.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm always like, I do the little circle and like, you know, stress, de-stress.
Where is my dog? It's coming into play, starting to slow down. It's probably going to come into here. What do I need to do? If my dog comes into here, what do I need to do here? Hopefully, if we can stay in here, we got a dog that's pretty much going through homeostasis.
You know?
And still being social.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing I've probably in the last year and a half is incorporating play in the social aspect into not every dog's training, but as many dogs as I can. And there's so many times in 20 minutes, good, well-socialized dogs with my assistance can teach another dog, you know, it's their first friend. They've never played with another dog before. They were reactive, barking, you know, not super aggressive, but just more, I don't know what to do and it's not working. And you help them, they're best friends, and they're a different dog, you know? And a lot of trainers are like, nope, you don't need to socialize. You don't need your dog does not need to play with other dogs ever. I'm like, really? I mean, some dogs obviously, you know, it's
You're designed to be
the environment and where. Yeah.
Our brains are always designed to have certain types of friends. It's friends you can rely on for playing, friends you can rely on for cuddling, both, neither. But you want to be able to your dog be able to look at somebody and go, I don't want to, but I still want to hang out with you. Another dog comes up, they're excited. All right, but let's leave them alone. They don't look. The owner doesn't have control over it. Like Belle, I say, sorry, dog's on leash. No greetings.
Yeah.
More often than not, that dog's dragging to come get mine. And Belle looks at me, I'm an asshole. Pardon my language.
Right.
But she still walks away. And then
they're being socially rude to it's like this dog wants to say hi and I'm, you know, but we do the same thing, you know, we can't be everyone's best friend and interfere with everything.
They'll look if she pees, more often than not, the other dog is going to go pee. And I walk off a little bit and then Belle stops. And I'm like, oh, great. You got to go smell that dog's pee spot. As soon as that dog walks off, he goes over and smells it. I'm like, yay, now you guys are besties.
Yep, the pee mail.
Yeah.
It's the pee mail. You get a lot of information. Yep. So
and it's fun to watch. Like, letting him go to the bathroom, and Belle won't go to the bathroom unless she knows that dog is going to be trustworthy. Because I'll use her with reactive dogs. Because I'll let her go away. She'll do what she wants to. She doesn't come close unless she knows it's time to play. The treats are never rewarding enough for her that she's going to put herself in danger. But if I notice, she will not pee if that dog is not going to be able to calm down and go smell. If the dog is too focused on her, she's done. She goes and sits behind a tree. And I'm like, okay, we have work. It's a great sign. If like the dog can be obviously acting out, but Belle's like, I'm not. Then the brain, Dr. Robert Sapolsky says, if you feel threatened or you need to move, your digestive system slows down. So if you're under threat, you don't need to go to the bathroom. Your stomach stops digesting as much. Okay, so if she doesn't have to,
either that or you lose Either that or you lose control of it because you're afraid and you know,
Yes.
Yeah, then well,
fell over or
you get so afraid that you lose everything. Yeah, but a lot of times that's getting just too excited, overstimulated that you can't do anything about it.
yeah, that's, I mean, ever since I kind of had an idea, but ever since you put it into words that the peeing helps to flush all that stress out. And when they
So we
take a
have
break and,
Yes, so we have a clarification on that. So
okay, yep.
the questions you had, not to look scripted or anything, does peeing actually flush out stress? The answer to that is no. It does not flush out stress. But what I do want to get into on that one is after a stressful situation, because cortisol, you measure cortisol, Cushing's and some of the other, like there's too much cortisol, too little cortisol. Cortisol is always in your system because it's part of your metabolism.
Right.
Anything your body does not need is waste. Most of cortisol gets absorbed, reabsorbed into your system. 10 to 20% does not. The stuff you don't need will get pushed out. There's like 3,000 chemicals in human pee, at least. So it does not flush out stress. But basically what I try and tell people, it's like when your dog can go to the bathroom, the brain has already decided that the stress levels are dropping.
Yep.
It's not needed anymore. It's absorbed what it needs. So yes, and this is where the DHEA will come in. Once the cortisol levels start to drop, your DHEA lets you open back up and learn more. Diana's really good about the DHEA, which is a supplement you can buy, but it doesn't work very well during stress.
I'm sorry.
It works after stress.
This is my camera. It shuts off after a certain period of time, so I apologize for that.
Let us know if it gets too annoying for you.
No, we're good.
Sex.
Makes them laugh too.
But that's the de-stress. Like your brain goes, oh my God, that's annoying.
Got an emotional response.
You have an emotional response and your brain will automatically go, I need to make a joke to make me feel better. And if it's contagious, like if we didn't laugh, then you'd be like, assholes.
See, now you made him laugh. See, that's all that is part of dog behavior.
It works for people, it works for dogs, and it's coming from people, coming from mice, coming to people, coming to dogs. It's very important for us, to say the least. So
Diana, you told us a little bit about your history. Scott, I know you talked a little bit about working in daycare. I think you were like the top dog walker for a while somewhere.
Oh my God, that's where I started. I need a little buzzard, little timer.
What was your
Actually, it was Nathan who started talking about play all of a sudden.
That's right.
He just told me to talk, and that's all I needed. That was my trigger. So my background has always been a dog trainer, and I just found out today that when I was a little kid, not that this really makes a difference, but because I'm a dog walker and dog trainer and deal with dogs, I'm using this to justify why I am what I am.
There's no justification. I'm sorry.
There's no.
Right, yeah.
Do you remember Mr. Sweeney from Dog Meets World? Or Boy Meets World? The teacher, the principal.
Was it?
Oh, Boy Meets
Oh,
World.
yeah.
I walked his dogs as a little kid because he was the father of my neighbor. My mom said, I only did it like twice, but he paid us in candy.
Oh my.
I barely, so it's not like, oh, it was a huge influence, you know? The payment was more than walking the dogs, but
the experience.
yeah. So that was the reason why that's who I am. No.
That one dog, yep.
It stimulated me for the whole rest of my life, even though I didn't touch dogs for another 10 years. Well, I didn't, not professionally. I got paid in candy, so it's professional, right?
It's payment, yep.
So it went from 25 years down to probably 35 years now. My experience really jumped up 10 years. So anyways, right about high school, sophomore year, we had this dog, a Basset Hound, built like a pit bull. built like Blue. She was a runner. Nobody wanted a dog. My sister wanted a shepherd, but actually the Humane Society surprisingly looked at our property because we had a small fence, said no. They came and took a dog, but they said you can have another dog. So we got this gorgeous black and white Basset Hound. As soon as you open the door, the dog was gone. 20 miles driving.
Hunting dog, yeah.
Yeah, so she followed her nose, but she didn't have a great of a nose inside or in the yard. Every time you open the door, she was gone. Open the door, she was gone. And after a couple months of this, my parents are like, if nobody starts doing anything with this dog, we're going to give it away. And I'm like, Humane Society, dog pound back then. They're going to kill the dog. It's already been returned once, going to be returned at least a second time. And it was a beautiful dog. So what I ended up doing is when I come home from work, because I was a latchkey kid, I used to, between getting my homework done and mine and my sister's chores, I would go spend time with the dog because I'm the one that liked to go out and go. We were in Reading, so we had 3.5 acres plus we were backed up to some woods. So I would take the dog out on a leash first, and I used corrections back then. That's what we knew. You think of the way growing up back then, the only trainers we had were shock collar trainers for hunting. Nobody used training for anything else. And we're like, yeah, this dog, we don't hunt. What are we gonna do? Basically raise it like you do a kid. And yes, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But I noticed, because we would hike for hours on accident, so I'd always bring a sandwich or two. We didn't have treats. You can only feed the dog so much because you're not allowed to, don't overfeed the dog. But I had to eat. I'm hungry. I'm not going to wait till my parents come home to eat because it works late. So I take the dog out, and I would feed her. When we'd stop, I'd feed her, give her some of my sandwich, not all of it, of course. And I wouldn't give her her own.
Just a little bit, yep.
But when I walked with her and up through the woods, she never went back. So in the beginning, she always went to this dude's house. This guy's house in the middle. But when I walked with her, we never found that guy's house. So I would take her off leash. And when she's off leash, she would always come back. And while we're off leash, and I would take the same path that she would. We never went to that guy's house. I know what his property looked like because we had to come get the dog because he would call us. But yet we're out in the woods, and I'm 14 years old. We never encountered his house because it was about us hanging out, having that relationship. And it was more freeing. I didn't correct her. I didn't need to do all this stuff. But it was only when I got home, when I would get in trouble. I had a negative association with the house because I had to do all this other stuff, and we got to make sure that she doesn't get returned. Got to make sure this is right. Which put frustration on me. Like when we were out, she listened perfectly. She'd go run off.
A lot of pressure,
yeah. It is. But we enjoyed being out. And all I had was a bologna sandwich and some bread. It wasn't like, which of course is better than Alpo dog food, even though we try to get the gravy train with that smell on, That was fancy food back growing up. So not only that, so from there I started working. Me and my friends would live on the same block or same road. We'd catch the bus and we had to walk at 6:30 in the morning, uphill in the snow both ways, barefoot, pregnant.
Did you wear a shirt?
Pregnant, to the bus stop, which was my cousin. No, I'm just kidding. So we had to walk 6:30 in the morning. We'd have to walk 6:30 in the morning to when it was sunrise, so it was still dark outside. And it was in the country. We had bears, we had foxes, we had all kinds of different animals. Well, my buddy had, so two neighbors that were off different ways had Rottweilers. My buddy had 2 Rottweilers. And then on the other side, there was a couple more Rottweilers. My buddy's Rottweilers that were over here would stay home. The ones that were over here would chase us down the road. So but they would catch us when we're halfway down the road and we didn't see them. We're just doing our thing. And all of a sudden we look behind us and they look like bear cubs. chasing us.
Oh yeah, in the dark. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, when we're going downhill, and all we're thinking is bear. And they're just like, what do? You're 14 years old with your backpack. You drop everything, and
Yep, you run. Well,
yeah, you find out they're
trying to
dogs.
run.
And then as you climb out of the tree or under the logs or behind the house, your fence, whatever you found to jump over, once you start to feel safe, you look at the dog, and the dog just wanted to play.
Yeah.
They got out, and we're like, hey, friends. And then so it's amazing how even after that fear, you immediately bond. Oh,
because you processed what was happening. Yeah, you got some space
in that high stimulating situation. Like, and it's funny how selfish we were. We all split, even though we're walking together. We all saw the same thing. We all
can only get one of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing how big fat kids can run. And when they're scared, they outran me. I'm wait. But that always stuck with me, like that situation. I ended up working with their dogs to keep them home, not just keep them contained, but help them keep them home, because a lot of it is they had their property fenced, but the gates were open. So I had a weight queue ever since then, like since I was 14 years old. And they didn't bother us. They would wag and say hi, and they come to the end of the property, and that's about it. And then we'd be able to say, go home, interact a little bit, go home. Or if we couldn't interact, we're late, go home. So that as well, because here's the funny thing, I remember the moment I bonded with those dogs out of fear, but I don't fully remember the training, but I can remember the aspects of the dogs wanting to listen. That, of course, made me feel good. Through high school, I did about another year, less than a year. I got paid 3 different times to work with dogs. So I was like, okay, I guess you can make money off this. This is great. But it was nothing compared to, those other shock collar trainers, the hunting trainers. I'm not going to say shock collars because they're hunting trainers, hunting dog trainers.
Yep.
Your specialty.
Yep.
Of course, you're never told you can make money off it. You go to the Humane Society, and all you see is doctors' wives that just come over and, they look like they babysat dogs. Because at the time, toxic masculinity, you got to be alpha, you got to be dominant, you got to punish, this other stuff. And it wasn't until through all my other stuff with my first service dog, Elliot, who I owe pretty much everything to, he was so annoying as a puppy, right? I'm the trainer and he's so annoying. My breakthrough moment with him was I was tired of being mad at him. I was tired of trying to correct all the behaviors. So he came up to me, he was like, he was ready to play, and he just did something wrong, but I didn't catch it, so I couldn't do anything with it. But my behaviors were upset, and he had that little pause, like, like, crap, you look scary.
Yep.
I took a breath, and I'm like, all right, fucker. And we start playing rough. So I took my frustration out with him through my shoulders. He'd come at me, we'd push, let him jump. Just be in the moment with him, and I let that frustration out with somebody I felt safe with. From then on, we bonded like crazy. So play is a great de-stress play, because I was stressed. After that, I'm in front of work, in my work uniform, working at KFC. I wish I didn't have to say that, because I'm working at Popeyes too, and I like Popeyes more. But it happened in front of Popeyes chicken. Popeyes chicken, that's good chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And then we just sat out front. After we're done playing, we just cuddled. Literally just sat on the curb. We got people watching us, did not care. So it goes back to the kids playing. When you just let go and you're just doing that, you feel safe enough to express yourself. And then from then on, anytime I felt like whether I was going to commit suicide, I go to look at him, and he gave me that look, and I go and cuddle with him. I was upset. I look at him, we go cuddle. And then we would go play together, go do something together. Nothing, like no purpose. We go for a walk, and maybe we go a block, 2 blocks, and go, that's enough. I just want to chill out. And he'd be more than happy to do that with me. But yet he was protective of other people's kids. With certain life situations that we were around, a lot of our friends were very poor and a lot of trauma involved with this. Well, we were out doing our thing. Mind you, we're teenagers and young adults, so there's partying involved. There's drugs and there's alcohol involved. When somebody was feeling panicky, or was going through an anxiety disorder, or was about to have an episode, he would walk over to them and sit with them.
Yep.
And they would start petting him. And I'm looking, I was like, well, because I'm always watching to make sure he's not going to do anything wrong, right? That's what we got to do. He's part pit bull. I always got to make sure, he's unneutered. Oh my God,
Oh yeah.
And I'm just watching him. So I stop and watch. And I'm watching that person start to want to focus on my dog. They start to snap out of it. And I had panic attacks. I have PTSD. I have depression.
Anchoring. Yeah, it's a very big concept. I do it with dogs all the time, just touching them, talking to them, bringing them back to reality.
Well, but he's also bringing them. He noticed.
Oh yeah.
Not okay, and walked over to them. And then they would start to, when they were able to, he would do the touch. If he had to, he'd lay down and put us up against them. And you're watching the person's leg move. And that would instinctually make the hand want to go over to see what that intrusion was. And they would start petting him. And when he got that okay, he would lean in a little bit more. And then before you know it, that person's coming back to the party and conversing with us. While we have no idea what happened, but we see what's happening. We're like, looking back on it, you're like, okay, that person wasn't normal in that moment. They weren't themselves.
Right.
We got into a car accident, and I'm the one that has to make sure everybody's safe. I was in the car when it got into a crash. I wasn't driving, but we had a person with a broken leg, got him out, got him up the road, make sure it was okay. The driver got them out, and the woman, she had a traumatic episode, and Elliot walked up and sat with her and would not let her go anywhere else. While the rest, I'm checking the car, making sure there's no fluids, make sure it's not going to explode, to get everybody else out. Right. Everybody else is with their loved ones. And that's always my thing. I've always been a protector. I got to make and check the situation. And then she came up to me, one day, she's just like, you know what, your dog has always known when I'm going to be upset. And she's like, I was a cutter. I'm one of those that will do self-harm. And he's kept me from so many episodes from doing self-harm. And I'm like, wow, my dog, and I didn't know, that was my friend's cousin is what it was. So she came from Pennsylvania, I think, or somewhere in the East, I'm in California. And she'd come over and spend the summer or whatever. And I would see them once in a while, pool parties, whatever, if I wasn't working, trying to find work or stuff like that. He and I were homeless. We're living either in cars, couch surfing, or on the streets. So this is the way our lifestyle was. It wasn't like I needed to train him for this. I wasn't going to afford training. I wasn't going to, anything that I needed. It was between me and my dogs, whatever we can get.
Yep.
While trying to be a productive member of society.
Because you guys are literally in it together. You're looking out for each other. It's close to the traditional, human dog relationship back in the day that you can get. You're out against the world. Scary things are out there.
Yeah, you can't lie. And it's like even that feeling safe, like the things that were worrying me was societal changes, was societal standards. But at the same time, I was still able to focus on us I felt safe enough to try and look for a job. I felt safe enough to try and find us a home. My daughter was born, trying to make sure I went to go see my daughter. Even with all the crazy lifestyle situations, I was still able to focus on not just him, but doing what I needed to do to survive. And even through lots of unsuccessful situations, we eventually got to Santa Cruz, and I became a trainer at PetSmart to move along on the story. So I did that professionally. As little as you want to call it PetSmart, not you, as little as people want to say big box stores are not professional, they really are. A lot more they can teach. But at the time when it came out, I think I got into it 8 years after PetSmart first started. So everybody was very emotional, very happy. This is before they had their daycare center, before everybody started banning pit. You had to sell, you had to teach, you had to teach all the classes, you had to go to strangers and talk to them, you had to use your dog as a demo dog, you couldn't use correction, be the face, and you were in public. And I think this is one of my things why I love being in public, is you had to do this in front of people. You're teaching classes in the middle of the store, and then you got to teach off-leash stuff and if your store was busy in the middle of a city, everything that they teach you is to be able to handle those situations. That's why you have those 3 levels of, you got your beginner, your intermediate, and your advanced. And then you can go on to CGC, you can go on to all the other stuff. But doing that, like I had people repeating classes just because it was so much more fun. And I'm like, wow, you guys are paying $100 for 6 weeks. Back then, that's what it was. It was expensive for the area, but people would pay it. I was busy constantly. And so I wanted to go out on my own. I love that job. You taught you so much. I would go back and you got people, even though they sold prong collars and all this other stuff, we never used it. You're not allowed to use them in classes. So when you saw
but they sell them, yeah.
That's a great opportunity to sell a class, though. You see somebody go into a shock collar. Oh, I see you're noticing that. So you start to talk and you start to understand their needs to get them away from that. Well, let's try this with your dog. Oh, you got it in the car? Well, go ahead and put this on for now. Bring him in here. We'll see. Or just bring him in what you got. Well, I got the training center right here. If it gets overwhelming, we'll put him in here. We'll calm down with him. And we'll walk him back in. No loss. We sold so many classes that way. People feel safe. They're buying our products, doing all this other stuff. So that was always one of my favorite things. I'll always give props to PetSmart for that. And then I ended up moving to San Francisco, Pacifica, working at a doggy daycare. So I went to Pacifica before San Francisco. Santa Cruz, up the coast to Pacifica, where there was a doggy daycare I worked at for about 10 years. Open play group, 7 different play groups.
How many dogs usually?
Anywhere from, when it first started out, we had 10.
Okay.
But then when we got bigger, it was a 10,000 square foot indoor facility with a 20 square foot backyard. We had 4 different sections technically. We had the indoor dogs, but we had the small fluffy dogs, the old senior dogs that would hang out with the owner of the company. Let her do, greet the guests and all that stuff in the lobby. Then we also had our old dog, bigger dog section. We had our adolescent dog section, which was the bigger section. Then we had our puppy dog section, which was the puppies and some of the smaller dogs. We had the fence jumpers, or the dogs that were too wily that the dogs can handle. They had their own separate area. We had a total of 7 different play groups. And then we had an area we played ball, and we had an outside yard. So the dogs got rotated every 2 hours because it takes you. We want them out there 30 to 45 minutes at most. And they're all off leash. I don't care what you bring your dog into. Bring your dog in with shock collar, prong collar, bark collar, gentle leader, harness, freedom harness, no pull harness. Doesn't matter. We're not using it. Your dog is off 100%. One person in every group, at least, ideally. In a lot of days, it was just us 2 with upwards of 75 dogs. Because once you get popular and people you, they're going to leave your dogs with you. And it wasn't about keeping them calm. I was the one that went and interacted with all the dogs. I was the one when they wanted to cuddle. I see you're scared. I'm going to go hang out with you. Some dog's bothering you. I'm going to protect you. Because if the dog's scared and this dog's being annoying, well, this dog's still in a good mood. I don't want this one to get upset. So I'm going to protect him or her and go be annoying with this other dog. And so this other dog gets focused back on me. So it's not focusing on this young one or this other one. And soon that young one either gets up and leaves or comes and enjoys the fun because they feel safe and want to be social.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw out and say, I'm going to call you the alpha dog, even though that's not possible.
Well, see, alpha dog, so if you look at Franz, when he uses the term alpha, it means mating pair. That's all it means. So I can't be alpha.
But dogs in captivity, yep. The social hierarchy, I know it gets so twisted around. Yep.
Yeah, but I won't use the term alpha. But I'm just trying to be with them to help.
You're not a dog.
Yeah.
I don't know about that now.
I've been called that many times, for good and the positive association and the negative association.
Emotionally, he's about as close as he can be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you're the translator. You can switch your brain.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I can put myself in their shoes most of the time.
And it's just
recognizing. It's a skill, yeah.
Puts you back into the moment. And then I got into dog walking thanks to Molly Maloney. When I got into San Francisco, she totally made me feel like my worth. I was afraid to walk dogs. I'm like, really? You're going to take 6 dogs and put them off leash? She's like, yeah, I do it all the time. And I'm like, I'll go with you. I got to see this. So I'm used to cage periods. Play, reward what you want to reward. And we went on the hiking trail for like 2 hours, and the dogs didn't run away. And I've got a deaf, aggressive dog. I've got the small white fluffies that love to bark at everybody. I've got 2 Ridgebacks that I'm working with that are walking.
Oh, wow.
And then it's a whole mix of dogs. And what really sold me was when you have a deaf dog that's reactive, known to bite, used to be on a muzzle constantly, when she looks at another dog coming by, she immediately runs over to you. All you can do is thumbs up, do a little bit of comfort because she's nervous. You don't want to get her excited. Because oxytocin's a double-edged sword. She came to me for safety. I'm going to stay there with her until she feels safe. Everybody else, and then everybody else recognizes that, and they don't run off. They're staying close. And I'm like, why is all this possible? Well, I got 7 dogs. Me, I'm comforting one, and everybody else wants to hang out instead of continuing up the trail, what they're so used to doing, going up to the pond where they go swimming and go drinking, go play out in the woods or go play with these other dog walkers walking by. Why is that? I didn't teach them to leave everybody alone. I didn't do all this other stuff, but they understand that it's better to stay close. And it's just like, I keep doing that. It's more and more rewarding, even though I'm trying to comfort this one, potentially dangerous situation here, this ticking time bomb, because if she's nervous, we know how nervous dogs can get. And if they're deaf, they're not going to hear another dog growl. And if your deaf dog does growl, it's going to be even more dramatic than if the other dog does. And the owner was like, wow, the owner of the company and the owner of the dog was like, wow, she's done so much better. And this is not Precious. No, this is an Australian Shepherd, Australian cattle dog.
Mm-hmm.
Bunny.
Yeah.
And she's able to hang out. I could pick her up. I could take her out. She hung out with the groups. And then, eventually I started doing it, going out on my own. Then I got on with Melanie, with Roman Rovers, and been there until, even through all this stuff with effective dog behavior. So it's been, since I was 14 is really when I started working with dogs constantly, because I didn't want to go back to the shelter. And then the neighborhood dogs, working with those dogs. When you have a 14-year-old kid getting hired to work with the Rottweilers that are supposed to be dominant and dangerous, and then throughout life, you're still working with dogs and helping them feel safe. It was just, when I went to Santa Cruz, I was like, you know what, I'm not doing anything else. I'm going to be a professional dog trainer. I'm going to stick with it because this is what I'm good at. I'm tired of getting laid off by everybody else. If I don't make money, that's my fault. If I'm working fast food or something else, if they lay me off, what am I going to do? I'm reliant on everybody else. At least I'm more self-reliant.
And that's kind of, with dog training, I'm like, if you need all these fancy leashes and collars and technology and, it's like, you should just need your voice, your interaction, your hands. I use touch as a reinforcer, between praise and touch and just communicating and them, being proud of themselves and having a good time. That's then a treat once in a while is good and nice,
I tell people, so there's that, I call it a myth, that treats are your paycheck. And I'm like, no, think about it like this. You get your paycheck from a specific job, right? Every 2 weeks, you're supposed to get your paycheck.
Yep.
What if, and it was a decent paycheck, it wasn't a great job, but there was just no room for advancement, you're ready to move on. Are you going to stay with a job that you don't get any appreciation from and just quit to the next job? Or are you going to kind of stay with the person that goes, you know what, thank you for doing this?
Yep. It's how much you like your manager.
You want somebody to recognize that you're doing okay, that you are feeling appreciated. That means, so when you do get your paycheck, you're like, okay, you know what? I'll stay here a little bit longer until I can find the right job because I feel safe. I feel appreciated. Right. That's why we're in most relationships, because we feel appreciated individually. And it's not always, how can I fix this relationship? If I see this person, how am I going to make them better? No, it's, I need this. How do I need this? And how is this going to benefit me? And also, what interests do we share? How can I feel safe enough to express myself, to explore their interests?
Yep.
We start to do more things together. And then we
Right.
do things together as a group, and it's more rewarding socially. So when stress does
And,
happen, we feel
and a lot of jobs, it's your creativity, what you're producing, what you're putting out there, not the paycheck, not, pleasing your boss. But, those are nice too. If you don't have a paycheck and you hate your boss, are you going to be as creative? Are you going to put out your best stuff? Probably
well,
not.
yeah. Well, you're not going to put your best stuff out there, but I'll bet you'll be creative.
Yeah, but in your own right, you'll do it for yourself, not for them.
Yeah, how do you avoid your boss? How do you do as little as possible while still getting paid as much?
Yes.
You're still creative.
Yes.
Yep.
You're just not going to work as hard their way, but you're going to work hard to have more pleasure because you're not getting it from your paycheck or your boss.
Yes.
And that's usually when employees bond. They bond over the hatred over the boss. So they're still bonding over this. So there's like what they call trauma bonding. Through stressful situations, through negative reactivity. If something you don't like, somebody else doesn't like it. You guys can complain because you're like, I don't like it. I don't like it either. But I hate it worse. You really hate the job? Yeah.
You're in it together.
Right. Dogs, when they go to redirect on you and you play with them, play rough, and a dog gets mad at you for playing too rough, doesn't mean you're in a bad mood, but they bond over with you. That's what stress does. It doesn't want you to stay upset. It's not going to kill you if you get upset. It makes you get over and helps you problem solve.
Resiliency, confidence. Yep.
That's what play is for, building resilience. So you feel safe enough to go, oh, my bad. To apologize, to conflict resolution, recovery.
Oh yeah, the first time you got that reactive dog or that resource guarder that like their best friend, they lose it on them and then like, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Can we still be friends? And then they patch that relationship and they learn and they grow and it's the ones that don't want to or don't know how to. Yeah.
And then I don't know of one relationship, human or dog, where they haven't had an argument.
Right.
If you don't, but it's a recovery. Like you see people like, oh, we had a fight and I don't want to be with this person anymore. Well, did you try to apologize? Did you explain why you try to recover? Conflict resolution.
Did you sabotage it on purpose just to,
Yeah. Can you fix it? Can you reward them for it and then make it all better?
Yeah.
It's not about.
Dogs are great like that. I'm fully convinced a lot of dogs come into people's lives for a reason. They help them grow as humans. They teach them about themselves and life. And, even my dog, you hit frustrations, you work through them, you kiss and you make up, you hug, you play, you have good days and bad. And
even through the argument, you're still in your social, you're still within your panic, grief, and care and play system. Because even in an argument, you're still asking to feel help. It's usually because you don't feel wanted, you don't feel acknowledged, you don't feel safe. So you vent that. You throw a little bit. Venting is rage. Aggression is rage. And as soon as you feel safe enough or acknowledged, you go right back to going into panic, grief. And the other person acknowledges it and goes, okay, I'm here for you. And you start to feel better. You're still social. If you're not running away and you're not fighting, physically fighting, you're recovering. You're building resilience. That's what.
And that's that comes along with having just enough stress, but not too much stress. Because if you too much stress, you start with your fight, your flight, your panic, that type of stuff. Versus you can think, you can work through it, you can accept feedback. And
hold on a second on that. Stress is good. Stress has an upside, whether it's a little bit or a lot. The problem we have is chronic stress. The other problem we have is we're not reaching out and accepting help. So we compound it upon ourselves. Once we understand that, because we're designed to be social. Dogs are designed to be social, just their language is different than ours.
Yeah.
So it's totally fine. Again, it's always about recovery. You can have arguments. You can have stress. You can have that. Like I've got a video I just posted yesterday, the day before, where I'm driving up on her road trying to go home. We just got through playing in the snow. I got a video of, us playing, blue catching rocks and running around, not wanting to go back into the car. And so we're driving home. He's tired. We go up, what is it, like a quarter of a mile to your house? It's dirt road.
Once you get on the dirt road across the cattle guard, it's 2 miles.
Well, from Trinidad Lake, it's like 20
Yes.
minutes.
Yes.
So they're relaxing, and he's anticipating going home, getting food, getting water, because I'm driving. He's not going to drink, and he's not going to eat. I don't have a buffet for him while we're driving. He's in the front seat with me. Belle had the water. He was up front. But as we're coming up the road, a brand new dog, a hound. Not only that, we've got 3 horses coming up on the road, and we had to stop because everybody stopped in the middle of the road too. And there's Blue looking at a brand new dog in our neighborhood because everything's off leash.
Was it my horses?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yodi and the 2 black ones.
All of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they recognize my van. Oh, hey, friends. Blue's whining and getting all upset. My window's already down. Yes, I could have closed the window, made the situation decrease sooner, but the window was down. I started recording because I want people to see what happens in the stress. He's whining, but he's not getting into my lap to attack the horse or trying to get out to attack the brand new dog in the neighborhood. He saw the dog first. And of course, as I'm filming over here, I forgot her really friendly horse has got his snout like right here while I'm looking over at Blue. And I'm like, oh, damn. But I can hear Blue get a little bit more excited. I'm like, hold on. But I just kept petting him. The horses go past us, and the dog stays off to the right-hand side and pees on the bushes over there. So he had a little bit of stress, too. It was all anticipation, like, I don't know what's going on. Usually just go walk with the horses. This guy's standing in the middle of the road. So he goes up, pees. Blue watches him. We drive up, go park, try to take him out to go potty, but he wanted to go back into the trailer. Took him into the trailer. We comforted. Like the whole time I'm comforting him, and not comforting and playing, but I'm just gradually petting him. And he calms in, he gives me kisses. You see him sigh, he does a shake off, all this stuff while we're still in the car. The sooner you can get that shake off, because your brain, you have 2 nerve parts of your nervous system. Autonomous, right?
Autonomous.
That thing.
Autonomous.
Sympathetic and parasympathetic.
And parasympathetic, yep.
He's in his sympathetic. Anytime you got action, you're in your sympathetic. When you're trying to be calm, and the parasympathetic wants you to be calmer. So your brain already wants you to be calm. So it's going to bring you back to being calm.
Yep.
So if you do it socially, you're going to get your shake off sooner. You're going to get your lip licks. You're going to get your yawns because it's all emotional change. And we get to the house. He wants to go in. Fine, great. He ran inside. We weren't that far from the situation. He looked back. He watched everybody disappear in the back of my car. And he goes inside and we cuddled. And then we took a long nap because after stress, naps are good. Daydreaming is good for you because that's what you're supposed to. After high stimulation situations, your brain wants to process what it was. Cortisol,
encode it, yep.
And then see, that's why DHEA is really kicking in. Daydreaming is not bad. Taking a power nap is not bad because that's your brain literally reprocessing everything so you can.
Or even a little meditation.
Well, no, not the meditation, not yet. The meditation's not yet. It's just your brain automatically wants to process that information. It wants you to heal and get over it. That's why dogs, you'll see them stop, they'll do the big yawn. And when they go to take a nap, they'll power nap. They'll drink their water, they'll go rest with you.
And that's the thing about stress.
We haven't even gotten deep into the stress yet.
Well, it's something that we do teach,
Yeah,
during
in our seminars, it's way deeper than what I'm discussing now.
But one of the things about stress...
I'm talking, stop it. Stop mansplaining. I'm just kidding.
One of the things about stress is that, every time we or the dogs experience stress, it's actually a chance for the brain to shape itself in a way that helps us or the dog to deal with the future stress a little bit better. That's part of resiliency. So if we try to avoid stress for our dogs, we're depriving them from the chance. And I know about eustress and de-stress and all that stuff. I don't even use eustress anymore because even the bad stress is still designed to help the dog build resiliency. So if we stop every bad stress, we actually create a brain that is more susceptible to chronic stress, because the brain doesn't shape the way it needs to shape so that it knows how to deal with stress in the future. And that's where mindset comes in as well. So as long as we as humans think that stress is bad, because we think that we get so sick from stress,
which we do.
Which we do if we think that stress is bad.
Stressed out, yeah.
Yes.
That's the long term, yeah.
Hold on. Listen to this part of it. Sorry. Listen to this part. This is the part that's very, very important that people miss. The thinking.
The thinking, the mindset. If we believe that stress is bad, stress will be bad. If we believe that stress is good.
So did you catch that part? If you believe stress is bad, it will be bad.
It will be bad, and it will harm you physically.
Slow down. I want to repeat it, because if we repeat it, it sticks in, and then you get the 4 minutes, it changes the brain.
Yes.
So we're manipulating. So I know you're excited, and this is very important. We get to discuss this. So I want to make sure that when you think about stress as negative, like she's saying,
it's harmful.
It's harmful.
So there are only two types of stress that are harmful. Okay? Chronic stress, and the type of or the stress that you believe is harmful.
Right. Well, because that activates your sympathetic nervous system, which makes you more tense.
Even if it does, it's not going to kill you.
No.
It's going to help your body. It's going to help your brain shape itself in a way that helps you stay more in your parasympathetic nervous system next time if a stressful situation occurs. So
because it's from
if we don't have that right mindset, then we are depriving our dogs from being able to shape their brain the way it needs to shape, so that they can deal with future stress a little bit better. That's when we start creating chronic stress.
Yep.
This right here, panic grief, that's stress, but it's still social. You can have stress and play,
but it's different kind of stress.
But it's social.
Because that's parasympathetic.
Yeah. But when you're going through stuff like this, like you're going through fear and rage with somebody, your brain, even though you may think you're acting out alone, your brain knows you're with somebody. So it makes it good. Ask anybody, name 10 things that define you, 10 different situations. I guarantee you at least 3 of them are negative, but you have made it positive. So it's not negative, but it wasn't Euro stress when it happened, or your stress.
You stress. Mm-hmm.
Europeans are bad.
The Euro stress.
Euro.
Just because I'm from Germany.
European, Eurobad. Super annoying.
So mindset plays a big role in how you deal with future stress.
Yep. Well, and your tolerance for stress, your ability to cope with stress real time versus having to stop, take a break, regroup, and then try again, versus I can stick in this and get through it, and also being able to give feedback. Like a big thing is, giving the dog as much feedback as you can, either verbally or, if you're rewarding them, that's one thing. But I think feedback real time, letting them know what they're doing good, what they're, helping them get back on track, corrections and punishments. They get this, punishments are bad. It's like, well, if you're correcting the dog, you're helping them to get it right. You're showing them the way that helps them get through the situation. That's for next time when they are faced with the same thing, then they know what to do. They're more comfortable and they don't get as stressed.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's take that correction situation. So your dog's acting out. You pop the dog with the prong collar. Positive interrupter even. Okay. We can include everybody. If the dog doesn't like it, it's causing stress. If it's overstimulating, it's causing stress. But no matter what, the dog is finding ways to work through it. Nobody dies, or you don't really die from a stressful situation unless you have a weak heart, or you have lesions on your brain, or you can't properly process. And that's usually something that's more genetic. When you have a highly stimulating situation, almost every single time the dog is looking for a reward. So if the dog knows it's going to get a correction because you did not pay attention to its subtle movements, when it slowed down, when it paused or froze, when it looked at you waiting for a communication, you're still on your phone, or you're still walking because the dog is in the perfect view, the way it's supposed to be, or you're too busy, you know, following the dog everywhere when it's anxious, trying to call its name, trying to do all this stuff. Okay, go potty. Okay, come get it. And you're not paying attention.
Micromanaging, yeah.
That's stress. And the dog is still trying to find ways to get you to pay attention. The dog is going to be social, even if it's not looking at you, because dogs are not designed to make eye contact. They're supposed to be looking forward. They're a nose out gathering everything, and it's all wafting back to them. Their eyes are gathering all the stuff out there, and their ears are radars. That's why they can move. Yep. You are part of that environment. So if a dog feels nervous with you, it's going to slowly look for you. If you don't seek that, you don't
seeking connection.
The panic grief system. If you don't notice that, your dog will drop down into fear. You still don't notice that then, it's going to go into rage. The urge to defend itself, or the urge to run away. If then you pay attention, the dog knows, if I get dramatic, the human will listen.
Yes.
Dramatic in here. Because have you noticed in evolution, the dog's eyes have changed to be softer, so we will take care of their emotional needs. That's why you can't walk into a pound and not feel an emotional tug on your strings. I don't want the dog.
Puppy dog eyes.
Look at those eyes.
Okay, we're gonna walk in. Yes, we can go walk in. We're gonna go look at the puppies. Okay, we're done. Yeah. Because because those eyes are designed for us to meet their needs. You look at a wolf, you're like, that's a pretty cool damn big ass dog over there. Can I pet you? You're using fear and anxiety to make sure you're going to stay safe. You have anxiety. So the wolf's eyes, and you're not supposed to stare at a wild animal in the face. Because
they know it. Yeah, they know you're nervous.
And that's what they sense. And they're looking at you, all your body language, and going, you dumbass. And they usually will come over and ignore you because you're not.
You, yeah.
They don't need to eat. You're not a threat. They don't need to hang out with you. And you're like, oh, he doesn't love me. No, because you're scared. They don't want to be with you if they're scared because they're in a good mood. Why do you want to hang out with somebody that's constantly scared that you don't know? You can easily go get attention from the next person. Dogs' eyes are designed for us to go, oh, how can I help you?
So cute.
Yeah, you're so cute. You're going to take all my money and you're going to put me in bankruptcy, and I'm going to cater all my every single need and never have a life ever again. Oh, yeah, I've already got kids.
That's why I don't have a Jeep yet, because my dogs eat the Jeep payment.
Eat your Jeep payment? Yeah.
Yes.
Among other things, yeah.
Among other things, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get to your questions.
Yeah, I mean, we're going pretty good here. We're like over an hour, so.
And we're still alive. So,
yeah, I mean, I think we touched upon quite a few of them. I mean, my big thing is the touch. That's where we kind of, I think, met each other when I was bouncing around some Facebook groups talking about touch as a primary reinforcer, and people are like, no, touch is not a primary reinforcer. No, you don't need to be touched to live. You won't die if nobody touches you.
Okay, you put a dog, so there's already been these experiments. You take an animal, the rhesus monkey, I want to say it's Thorndike or Watson. And in fact...
Harry Harlow.
Huh?
Harry Harlow, I believe.
You might be right. I don't remember the name.
The monkeys, yeah.
The rhesus monkeys one was a cage that fed the babies, and the other one had a carpet, so it was warmer. I think you're right. That's who it was. I was always...
think so too.
And it was...
Because I bring that one up, and they're, and I'm like, well, if touch is a secondary reinforcer, what does it predict? What is the primary reinforcer that the touch predicts? And nobody can give me a straight answer.
Opioids.
If it's wanted, it's opioids. If they accept it, it's because they were going through withdrawals. They were going through opioid withdrawal. Every time you miss,
It helps. Yep. Calms them down. Yep.
but it makes them, it doesn't always calm them down, but it just helps them want to be with you.
It helps them feel good.
It helps them feel good. It helps
Yes, there you go.
connected.
It helps,
And your oxytocin
and it
kicks in.
helps ease the pain.
Yes.
Just imagine if we wouldn't have those endogenous opioids, if we wouldn't have those opioids in the brain, we might be a lot more in pain. That's why lonely people might get a headache quicker, or they might ache a little bit.
Body aches. Yep.
Because they're missing those opioids. And
Which
so
stresses you. Yep.
physical pain and the emotional pain kind of go hand in hand. So one,
Yep.
and physical pain also releases opioids, but not necessarily together with the oxytocin. But when you get that combination, oxytocin and opioids, through touch, that's the cocktail. That's the one that you really want.
Yep. The bond.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yes.
And touch is a double-edged sword because touch can be overstimulating as well. If you're trying to touch a dog that's a little tense or not receptive.
Think about it. If the dog does not want to be touched, okay?
Yep.
Even though we have bonded with dogs for thousands of years, okay, if the brain hasn't really been stimulated in a way that helps release the opioids, that our touch helps release those opioids, then we need to start working on that. And I can do that. You can do that little by little, a little touch here, a little touch there, just to start stimulating that. And
give them a lot of breaks because they do get overstimulated within seconds.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you have this really shy dog that didn't want to be touched, and then it starts leaning into you, and it starts coming back for more. Then now you
Seeking,
have the opioid addiction going.
Well, hold on. Seeking encompasses everything.
Yes.
Seeking,
right, but he's seeking your touch. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes,
Yes.
I just want to make sure when people hear seeking, you don't activate seeking. Seeking is encompassing everything. It'll tell you if you need to be fearful, if you need to move away, if you need to smell something, or if you need to pay attention to something, or it can give you anxiety, it can make you fulfilled, it can do everything for you. It's what makes you survive and thrive, period.
Yep.
Even when you're highly stressed, it's what makes you survive and thrive.
Sorry.
No worries. I got an experiment for you, Nathan.
Sure.
Come on.
So I've been thinking about this a lot the last couple of weeks. Longer than that, but I've kind of done this automatically without thinking about it. But now that I'm going to put it out there for other people. 3 spots on your dog that you're going to get an emotional response for sure. And use your dog. The butt and the neck are going to make your dog hyper. A little more highly stimulated. But then when you go to the chest, you start rubbing the chest, they calm down. Prove me.
They've done studies. No, I've read them where it lowers your blood pressure, your heart rate. That's why a lot of groomers put their hand right in front of the dog and they lean in or do that deep pressure right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, touching their butt, yeah, they're definitely going to get overstimulated at first. I mean,
but it's not just that. But like, if you even, I'm talking about the dog you're saying the exact same thing. It doesn't decrease. It's not conditioned. It's conditioned that you're trustworthy and they know behaviors are going to happen with you afterwards. But if you scratch their butt, they don't calm down. If you scratch their neck, they don't calm down. You scratch their chest, same movements, they calm down. You can do it 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and see what the difference is. But remember, what Diana was saying is, when your dog's wanting to be touched by you, they need opioids. Opioids makes them feel good, so they want to stay in bond, right?
Yep.
When they walk away from you, it means they're full. It doesn't mean they're not social. It just means they're not going through withdrawals anymore. What it means is, so if my dog comes to me and asks for scratches, like we've got the relationship and something stressed my dog out and it came to me and goes, cuddle me, right? We've got the establishment. So I'm scratching the dog, I'm giving them care, or I'm just hanging out with my dog and we're just doing that. And once they move away, they still are bonding. They're going to want to play with you or do something a little bit more fun. They're going to go seek out, go find a scent. it's not that they are neglecting you or they've had enough of you. They actually still want you to join them. And that's where people miss out on, because all this is social with the person you're supposed to be with. The panic grief system, the care system, and the play. People just go, oh, you left me alone. So they go into their panic grief system like, oh, I don't feel wanted anymore. Well, go get your care and go interact with the individual that feels better. Because if somebody makes me feel better, I'm going to find a way to be more involved with them. Be like, okay, if you made me feel better, I feel better. So I'll crack a joke to try and keep you coming up with me. You know, I'm not trying to like, oh, thanks, and then leave and not forget this and not think about this person again. Or go do my own thing and say, no, go away. I'm usually going to do something to make it social to where we're all going to want to do it together. People think just because a dog walked off that they're done with us. No, that just means they found this out with addicts. When you have your heroin, you have your opioids. I mean, you're craving, the reason why you're going through withdrawals is because you are low on opioids. Once they get their drugs, they are, it's not that they're not social, they're just content. They're just happy at the moment.
They don't have to get it from.
They don't need to get it from somebody else.
You know how drug addicts, a lot of times, they distance themselves from the family? And that's because they get their opioids from an outside source.
So they don't need to be social. They don't need to reach out to anybody else.
They don't need to have that from their loved ones.
In that moment. But see, here's the thing about the addicts is when you're low on opioids, you're going through withdrawals. If they were to feel safe enough to reach out to somebody, and this is what they did with that cocaine water when they finally made the rat social again, if the addict felt a little bit more safe with somebody, they would start turning to that person, but they would also have to admit that they're in a lot more pain than they thought. So that's what we try and do with dogs. We try and show them that, look, when you asked for help, nobody was there for you. I need to change this. But it's going to take pain, because that's what emotional pain is. That's what the panic grief system is. It is emotional pain, and it hurts. So you're going to get a dog that might snap a little bit more. Somebody's going to go, oh, he doesn't want it. They don't know how to take it, but it's always there. And if you really watch, they're always trying to look for it, whether it's a tail moving this way towards you, they're staring at something, you call their name and the ear twitches. They're fully, if they have not ran away from you, if they have not attacked you, they're seeking to be social. Whether it's on leash or not, if they're stopped and staring at something, you are still part of their environment. You may touch them because they're gathering, you may touch them and get a startle response. But if you notice the startle responses are still, it's an innate fear. Mm-hmm. But notice how quickly, this is why it's a startle and it goes away, how quickly they become social. Because your brain does not want you to die. Right. We're designed to survive and thrive. So you can do a startle response with a dog and it'll look at you and go, oh, hey, it's just you. You just brought in rewards. That wag, that tail, all that stuff, that acknowledgement, even it goes right back to something else. You took it out of that immediate anxiety, anxious state. So if you went through that anxious state and all of a sudden, like somebody, your friend comes up and taps you on the shoulder, you're not going to be like, do what you do, and you're going to rage on them. If you did, you were in a bigger issue than you thought. You were too busy thinking about stuff that you have to do. But once you realize it's your friend, dude, I almost beat you. You almost got punched in the face. Well, yeah, I dare you to punch me in the face.
Right.
You wouldn't do that. You're so full of it. I've never seen you punch anybody. But this time, man, you know, whatever, dude, you're cool. You're cool. You start to feel better and you start to de-stress. Well, let's go find some girls. Let's go for a cruise. Let's go ride our motorcycles. Let's go get dressed up and go out. Let's go see a movie. Let's go do something fun and social. Dogs do the exact same thing. They just don't vocalize it. They expect us to understand their language because they're always understanding ours. Our body language. If we're too busy being annoying, they're going to go look down. I posted a video, actually, yesterday. It's kind of at a distance. The horses, after the situation on the road, I had Blue tied up because I was cleaning out the van, and it was a nice day. I wanted him outside, not sitting in the cabin. The horses walked by, and actually, for whatever reason, they walked behind the cabin. Blue saw that. I was not there next to him. And he saw them coming. That's why I started to film. But I focused in on him. You can kind of, I thought the horses were going to be in front of the camera the whole time. And thought that was going to get stupid, but they walked around. So I hung out with Blue. I didn't do anything. I started playing with him. He played my way. Like I had my hands up. We're playing rough. He's slapping me. He's spinning around. He's bouncing. So I put my hands on the ground and started playing with his toes. Soon he starts mimicking and does that as well. So he starts playing lower. And then he starts to come in for cuddles. Well, that was my play.
Yep.
He was choosing to get my attention, play my way to stay social with me after those horses. Less than 24 hours of him going through the highly stressful situation. So the 72-hour
Time frame that downtime
was not possible.
Right.
Which is never possible. So, because the brain never stops.
Right.
So we did that, and then he ignores me for a minute. He came in, bounced around. We did all kinds of stuff, a little bit of play. And then he ignores me and starts looking for something. And it wasn't that he was done with my attention. It was the fact that I wasn't recognizing his needs anymore. I wasn't playing his way, which once I said, you want to catch? He gets excited over the rock. That's the way he wants to play. Then afterwards, we went in and took him out. We cuddled a little bit more because he played my way. And it's only fair. We teach you in dog training. The play kind of has to be mutual. Not 50-50, but eventually you got to start to see it. If somebody doesn't like it, they can take a break.
Back and forth, yep. Ebb and flow, yep.
It's got to have the ebb and flows. And you can have the rip currents once in a while, but that means you're going to be able to conflict resolution, all that stuff. I wasn't doing that. So he stopped. And so he went to go chew on something. Oh, well, you played my way. It's only fair that I play your way. Right? And I didn't use treats. I used a stick. And I'm playing with it. He's waiting for it. He took it. And then he would bring it with me. And he wanted me to chase him. So I chased a little bit and let him bounce around. Because anytime you have this highly stimulating situation, the stress chemicals are adrenaline, cortisol, DHEA will come up into it soon, oxytocin. Because if you're not fighting or flighting, you are still social. So your brain wants you to be social. Now that's starting to get a little bit more annoying. Now I'm starting to be a little bit more triggered by that camera.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, it's okay for you.
I'm almost out of fighting.
All right.
Well, that's why. So yeah,
Diana.
Yes.
Scott's taken over the last 48 minutes.
What? Say what?
I said Scott took over, I think, the last 48 minutes, but that's fine. I asked him. So we got kind of the backstory. So how did you guys exactly meet or get together? I know you guys are working on a book. You got a tour coming up.
We're working on a book, and yes, we're planning several cities next year. And as far as, Scott got invited to talk at a symposium last year in the summer of 2019. And I had a computer. He didn't, so I helped him put his presentation on paper or on screen. And he, that was before ADB got to have a name. And so throughout that process, ADB just started growing on us. And he's been practicing that for so many years already. It just didn't have a name.
Right.
And then as I learned more and more about, affective neuroscience and
I'm making you nervous.
And behaviorism. And so we just put two and two together and started calling it affective dog behavior.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect word.
Yeah. Emotional side combined with behavior stuff, it's all for the dog.
And the social component, definitely. What is he doing?
He's eating my stress ball. Never
Oh,
mind
okay.
the dog. Never mind that I had to clean off some dog poop and stuff. You know.
I'm just trying to keep myself
Right.
quiet so I don't take over the next 48 minutes. I couldn't find tape.
Well, I mean, the good news is, yeah, you can talk for go on, and that's a good thing.
So when we do a seminar, okay, when we do a seminar, it's not like most people do a seminar. It's like this. It's
Oh, yeah.
like you're cutting up
3 days of it, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's how it all started, you know. And then we started working on the book, and it's hopefully being edited now. The first draft. There's a lot more. I thought it might take a few months, you know, but no.
It was even before we got close to the editing.
Yeah.
And I haven't fully read it yet, and it's still there's still a lot more, and there's still more we want to do to it.
And the funny thing is, you know, we have about 175 pages without illustration and stuff, and
Right.
I already know things that we already have to revise because the science moves, and ADB ADB is never going to be a finished product.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
behaviorism's 100 years old. It's nothing new. It's evolved quite a bit.
Got stuck in a way, you know, but the science that we are using is constantly moving. It's constantly being. They find out more things, and we learn more. And as we learn more, we have to revise things, and we have to change it, you know. So ADB is never going to be a finished product.
Right.
The more we learn,
And, you know, that's, yep. I mean, and again, it's back to what I said initially. It's the science, which we're learning about. It's there. It's not changing. We're just learning as we adapt our techniques and how we can look at it. The art form, I mean, it's always been an art form, but it's changing too, you know?
Yeah.
You talked about, you know, the old school styles, the crank and yanks, the prong collar corrections, the do what I say or else something bad will happen and you'll learn to just do what I tell you. But you know what I learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you've heard differently, but even when they were doing those techniques, a lot of the trainers were getting bit and they had, you know, a lot of incidents and the dogs really were still resisting. And what they did was had them spend about 2 weeks bonding and getting to know each other as a dog and a person, have a relationship. Then they did the same training, crank and yank corrections, but the dogs took it a lot better. They didn't bite them as much. And they, you know, they had a lot better results.
Okay, guess what? When you bond, you have more opioid that's being released. And guess what? What happens then when you yank and do all that stuff? It's a lot less painful.
not only that.
Well, no, I'm just pointing out as far as the part of the chemicals, how it works. That's why doctors, pediatricians, when they play with the kids first, okay, and then the kid gets the shot, they don't even feel the darn shot. Well, because you release opioids. It's a painkiller.
And then think about how you
And they're less tense. Yep.
feel. And
Yeah.
like, I was just telling her, like, think about how you feel that video, watching the kid feeling better, taking the shot, the
Yes.
doctor having fun, all that stuff, how it makes you feel as well. And like you were saying, the compulsion trainers, the funny part is that, like, they're trying to control the situation, right? But the dog is still showing an emotional response.
Yeah.
So you still have the fallout. You know what vet behaviorists tell your dog after training has not worked and behavior modification with specific trainers or whatever is not working? What do they tell you to do? In order for the medication to work, you have to stop training. So now you're stressed because you still have to take your dog out, right? But now you don't have those tools at your disposal. So through that stressful situation, you have to be adaptive. That's just you. What do you end up doing? You can't go out for triggers anymore. You keep stuff minimal. You focus on your dog's basic and emotional needs. You focus on care to help your dog feel better. Well, now you're meeting their emotional needs. Science is showing when somebody comes in for therapy, they don't want to just give you medication. They want to know more about you. They want you to feel safe enough to open up. If you feel safe enough to open up, guess what? Back to what Diana was saying, your brain's already starting to heal.
Exactly.
So if your brain's starting to heal, the medication starts to really work. Taking a specific medication because I said I feel anxious and the doctor gives me anti-anxiety medication doesn't mean I actually fix the problem or it makes me actually feel better unless I specifically know it is the anxiety that is kicking my ass. But we all have anxiety. It's the anxiety disorder that impacts our lives.
Yeah.
That could be multiple different reasons, but the only reason to really find out because humans are so complex and we can lie about our behaviors. We are very cognitive. We have to have a relationship so I can feel safe enough to say, you know what, as happy as you see me, you know, even as happy as you see me, I still have depression. I still have and it drops me. It lays me out. It doesn't, you know, I went on a tour. It doesn't mean my depression didn't kick my ass a few days. Didn't lay me out, but I was still able to, and that was Jock Panskip's biggest thing. And that's, of course, my emotional response, what got me interested. He asked, why do depressed people have happy moments? Not as often as everybody else, but why do they have happy moments? Why is there still a positive with these people? And it's not always, oh, we're going to go out on a date and we're going to go do all this other fun stuff. And we're going to go on the swings and go push each other and laugh. A lot of times they'll find somebody else that's just as twisted as them, like emo, and they bond over that. They feel better because they have that dark, twisted sense of humor. They bond over cutting. They find ways to act. They still find ways to bond. They still, the stuff that he put himself, situations he put himself into to learn about this stuff. And then to find out he lost his daughter and his son.
No, his son is alive.
His son is still alive, but he lost his daughter to a drunk driver that was an angry cop, and the city covered it up. And he's a well-known doctor at that time.
Wow.
And they still, in a small town, and they still, from somebody they knew was a bad guy, basically. He was an alcoholic. He was a rager. Everybody said, watch out for this guy. But they still covered it versus somebody that has contributed way more positively to science, whatever. Technically, if you put it side by side, but they still covered from him. So he had a emotional loss of his daughter, and then the rage of dealing with the police department, trying to get information of why.
Right.
No
closure,
No closure, and until later. You know what I mean? And then later on, he started going, his wife went through cancer.
I don't remember.
Not long after that. And then he died of a cancer. He died, yeah. Yeah, and then he died of cancer. So like all this stuff really started to happen. And, it's just amazing, like what he went through, depression, all the same stuff. It's not a therapy that we're trying to put out there. We're not trying to put out a protocol. We're just trying to bring back, like, why are dogs with us for 15,000 years? There's not a species out there that we have bonded over, that we can use and we can abuse. And we've gone through 20, 30 years of bad breeding and all this other stuff, but yet they're still with us. Indigenous tribes, the First Nations, when 13,000 years ago, it wasn't about, trick training. I got a meatball. I'm gonna get you
right.
I'm gonna break down every single little step to teach you how to pull my sled, or I'm gonna teach you how to teach me how to hunt.
Right.
Because those times were like, the dog runs out to go catch a deer. Oh, right. But that dog taught you how to catch a deer because you let him go out, flushes the animal out, and that wasn't breed specific yet, right? It's not Holly-esque. It's not hunting. It's not pointers to go, or flushers or retrievers. It was that the dog probably said, hey, he's going out. What is he getting? Why is he not hanging out with everybody else? I'm going to go wander with him.
Yeah.
Curiosity, that's a little bit of stress. And then he comes back with food.
Yeah.
And eventually, they throw off a little bit of chunks. It's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll help him get food faster because maybe the guy went out for 3 days and didn't catch anything. And so the dog caught a squirrel. He's like, I'm eating.
Yep.
They start learning they can fend together, so that it evolves, and eventually it's you, through your own stress, you find ways to adapt.
Exactly.
People, come on, like harsh weather. we created houses. Through any stressful situation, art. Just because you have a bad upbringing doesn't mean you're not a creative person, doesn't mean you're not somebody with different type of experiences, doesn't mean you're not somebody to offer. Once you start to feel safe and you feel safe, you'll start to draw whatever your anger or whatever thing it is in your beauty, whatever your creativity is, your version of art. Even if you don't feel worth it, it's an expression of you and somebody else might appreciate it. Kids at school, bullies are not bad people. They just aren't heard. And once they feel heard, or the class clown, always interrupting class, nobody's ever learning. It's annoying for the teacher. But okay, they're seeking a connection. That annoying dog on the leash, that bullying dog, probably is seeking a connection that nobody's ever given to them. That's why they were probably put in the pound, while they were given to the neighbor, while they were tossed out into the street, because they weren't understood in ways that they felt safe. Children with autism, people with trauma, you can teach them anything you want, but if they don't feel safe to practice it, feel safe enough to express themselves, you're not going to get anywhere. You may think, oh, look, the behaviors are fantastic. You're doing so well, Nathan. You followed every protocol over at that group home with those kids. Yeah, you didn't have any fights, but then you're looking at them going, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere with these kids. But I can come in here and see, look, you've probably been my best group home counselor because you've kept fights from happening. You've got kids increasing eating food, even though they're so tired and bored, they're just sitting there eating, you know? Behaviors, our interpretation of behaviors can be wrong.
And my dog can lay there for 9 hours in the cage, nice and calm. My dog is used to it. Well, never mind that that dog is going through a depressive state because the opioids and the oxytocin are lower. And so, you know, we a lot of times we do misinterpret behaviors just because it's the outcome that we might like, or it's an outcome that we don't like. So we see what we like, we see what we don't like, and then we try to change it, or we try to reward that, you know. And rarely do we ask about what's going on in the brain, because that's not what we want to look at, because we can't see it. And that's what effective dog behavior wants to do, is educate about the brain, so that when you do see a behavior, you are aware of what it could be or couldn't be. You know, you are aware of the process, the trickle-down process of the emotional systems, so that you can try and keep your dog in the social emotional systems. Yeah. So that they don't have to go down into fear. And even when they do go down into fear, so that they feel safe enough to come to you for emotional support. And the fear might still be there. You know, it might still be going on, but your support helps them deal with that, helps them cope with that in their way.
And this is all science.
I always tell, if you're there when your dog needs you, that's half the battle.
Well, you can bond with your mom. Like, sorry, like, when you're sick, who do you call out for? That's probably the person you have when you're at your worst, who do you call out for? That's usually who's the one that's made you feel the safest. Through that stress, you're still seeking out somebody else.
Yep.
I mean, dogs will do the same thing. We just don't recognize those behaviors because it's up to our interpretations, because it's guilt. Our guilt kills us. Oh, dude, my dog's, when we look at our standards we put on ourselves when we take a dog for a walk. Don't bite. Don't get anxious. Don't run away. So we're putting ourselves through a tremendous amount of stress. So when we get
some trainers are like, don't even let them sniff. I'm like, are you crazy? I mean, maybe not the whole time, but you know, they have to do some sniffing and dog behaviors, you know. That's why you're going for a walk.
Well, you're going for a walk for both of you, because the dog's trying to include you. If it's not trying to include you, then you're not bonded with your dog.
And think about it. Why do trainers typically focus on the negative parts of a dog's life? The fear and the aggression. the fear, and the rage.
And they won't admit that aggression is rage.
I know.
They think it's fear.
I know it.
It's scientifically not right.
Yes, scientifically, it's not right. No. So, but why do trainers typically focus on that? So that's when you need to look at the human brain too. Does it make people feel that good to think that I helped my dog overcome fear?
Makes you
because it makes me feel better about myself because I'm such a helpful person.
So what
Is he
going through your brain?
Yeah.
So what neurochemicals are going through your brain?
Yes. So exactly. So, but who wants to help a dog that's already happy?
And then we suppress play.
You know.
And then we stop
and then
the play.
and then we stop the play. Exactly.
Well, it has to be my rules when we play.
And then if we can't fix those problems through behaviorism.
Diana, stop. You're being too go sit outside.
Yes.
You're being too loud, right?
Think about it.
Go outside. When you're done, come back and we'll continue this conversation. I'm serious, Diana. Diana.
No, you're not listening. Yeah.
You're not listening.
I'm playing.
You got to punish her or she's never going to learn.
Appropriate right now for me. So me and Nathan are going to go over here and we're going to.
You're not even.
Me and Nathan are going to. Right. But that's what we get from a lot of trainers.
Exactly. So, you know, it's.
Didn't bother her emotional state.
No.
We're trying to have a podcast here.
I know.
But you know, we want to feel good about ourselves, and we want to be.
Go feel good.
We want to be the saviors for our dogs. We want to be.
Stop.
Every dog. We call every dog a rescue dog.
Stop.
You know, every dog is a rescue dog, even if you just got a puppy from somebody else and not from a breed. You know, I've heard people say, "I rescued my dog."
Oh.
Did you miss us?
That's
Thank
Lucy.
You. Go get your ball.
And
go off. Thank you. You want to get your ball? Come on, let's go get your.
Panic grief.
So it's not panic. She already went through that.
It was out there.
That's why she was whining.
Exactly.
So when she came in, see all these multiple. Oh, you can't see them. All these multiple shakeoffs.
Go.
You want it?
We're getting a live demo. Here we go.
I just don't want. We got too much of a small space, and she's a big golden. She actually technically really wants mom. But see, she's actually calmer, but she's trying to seek things to make her mouth feel better. That's what dogs want to do. What do you think, Lucy? Thank you. So what I would also do, like when we're here, like I have to keep, her motivation is Diana. That's going to hit that chord.
No.
So her motivation is her mother. So her occupied. So I'm literally, I am not a primary reinforcer. Her mother, why stop this? Her mother will still be primary reinforcer. I'm secondary because if you really get to watch her eyes, she keeps constantly looking for mom.
Sorry.
So she's constantly looking for mom, but she's high energy, she's highly stimulated, which is still a form of stress.
Excitement.
How much I can do. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you. When I get a dog that's hyper, like dogs like to jump in the house, now I'm getting licks on my scarf. So I'm getting this stuff. See how much oh crap.
Sorry.
Yeah. So like now I'm getting her to be a little bit calmer.
Yep.
Now she can focus on wanting to grab the toy as opposed to me making her play with the toy.
Yep.
There's that chest thing again.
Yep.
See the tail? The tail stops.
Yep. Tail's the dead giveaway.
The mouth, panting.
Oh.
Look. Thank you, Lucy. But see this, the big crown, right? The big curl?
Yep.
Thank you. Now that we get a little bit calmer, I want her to mimic this stuff too. I want to mimic what she's going to do. It's only fair that she's been mimicking me. Thank you. I can mimic her too.
Yep.
Thank you, Lucy. Getting those opioids.
Stretching out. Yep. Stretching out the legs. Yep.
Adrenaline's already in her system. When she came in, we got to work through that adrenaline. It's already in. She saw us. Thank you. You want to get your ball? Now we can communicate better. And Betsy is still going to mother. And she's asked, so the ball's over there and she's asking for help.
Yep.
You need to go try it again. Need some help, Lucy? Oh, you got it. Good girl.
Oh, Lucy. How old is she?
She was 3 in August.
Oh, yeah, Falcon's a couple months behind her. My golden. Very nice. All right.
This little game of tug with just my finger in the Kong, we're matching.
Oh, yeah.
Interacting and engagement. Tail's very high up. Now it's lowered a little bit. She's still trying to mimic because I'm on the ground. She wants to stay on the ground. If I bring it up here, ready? I'm gonna go up. If I bring it up here, thank you. In about a minute and let about 30 seconds, she's gonna match what I'm gonna do. So if I talk and try to communicate up here, you're more likely to jump, and you're gonna.
Or not.
So if she wants to do this, now she's able to communicate and say, "This is what I want." Now I can mimic the best of my abilities. But I'm not a dog. I don't have 4 legs. I can't just flop on the ground. Plus, also the anticipation. I know we have to finish this podcast. It's more about us than it is about
this is good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but like trying to communicate, and I still got to focus on this and this. Dogs can focus on. She knows now. She's finally realized she's not getting mother's attention.
Yep. But the touch is helping her. Yep. Good Carol. Now, have you studied or looked into like Tellington T-touch or any of those type of hands-on type things? Trigger point release?
No, it's too technical for me. I try
not to get all wrapped up in it, but there, definitely some things you can gloss out of it.
It's great and it's amazing because people say it works for a reason. There's science behind that as well, but we're also the thing is with effective neuroscience, it works with T-touch.
Yep.
There's not a situation where ADB does not work with anybody else. I guess I got to talk to the camera. I'm trying to talk to this camera, which I'm looking over, and it looks like I'm going over there. But
a big thing I've noticed since I've kind of switched over the last few years is, a lot of times you focus on the obedience. I want you to sit, I want you to lay down, I want you to go to your bed, I want you to stay, I want you to walk in a tight heel. And, you focus on that and you miss everything else. So we start with everything else and then that stuff kind of falls into place and, it's not as important, but you still get the dog to respond and understand what's safe and expected and, how to respond to you, especially when they are excited or stressed.
Well, if you think about it like this too, what they're trying to tell you now when you get a shelter dog or a rescue dog is give them 7 to 14 days to decompress.
The shutdown, yep.
When you get them out of the shelter because you don't know what you're going to get. So you want them to understand you're not going to take them for a week. We tell you literally, go home, stay home for 7 to 14 days.
Yep.
Once you start to relax, they feel safer in the world. Make sure show them what it is. This is the time to take you outside. Your food's going to be here. Your water's going to be here. Once they feel safe enough with that consistency, then you start to take them outside. Of course, on leash. You reward them where you want them to be at. Don't ever go far. You just go. You want to stay close to home so they feel safe. So if there is stress, they're more likely to want to come home. So even if they've run away in fear, they're probably going to go back to your house as opposed to they felt safe at, which might be the shelter or the home where the people moved away from because they couldn't keep their dog. So when the 7 to 10 days, it's still changing that emotional response so they feel safe enough to want to show you that they feel safe before you do obedience. Yeah, if your dog sits, good, you can mark for it. It's a great time to shape behaviors because if they offer it, good, reward. Mark, reward. You mark and reward. It's not the treats that makes them feel better. It's just a simple fact that they feel safe enough to show you those behaviors, or you can capture them and you can see them and go, I like that. That's going to work for us. You sat. You didn't pull me on a leash.
Yep.
You growl at me at your food dish. You laid on the floor while we're eating dinner. Because dogs are not, just because you got the dog does not mean you're working on brand new emotional response.
Right.
They already have their habits. They have their own experience. They have their own individual ways of feeling safe. Once they start offering more of those behaviors, you'll start to see different types of things that the other owners, not what they used to do, but what the dog would find safety, how they'd express themselves, how they were afraid to express themselves.
Right.
I've seen a lot of dogs that had abusive owners, they shut down in the shelter.
Yep.
They don't trust the people in the shelter. But guess what? They trauma bonded with the people at the home. They were left, dogs that were left outside. They still found pleasure. They were too annoying to be able to come in the house. They got corrected for being annoying. Suppressing play is one of the biggest problems trainers have. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yes.
But you see those dogs from those homes, they're like, oh my God, the dog was abused. Look how shut down they are. We got to get him out of the shelter. What people don't understand is they bonded so much with those people that they are going through major withdrawals. The opioid levels are so far gone, they are in fear. They're hiding from everybody. You can put the camera up a little bit. Up. Point at the board. Oh, you can't really see it anyways.
Oh, Lucy. Oh.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So what they don't understand is that opioids, they're going through major withdrawals and they don't feel safe with you at the shelters, the shelter staff.
Right.
That takes longer to bond. Because no matter what you think you're doing, if they don't feel safe, they're not going to bond. And they knew if they played too rough, they would get some sort of attention from the humans. Even if it meant a connection, they were still getting their needs met. Even if it's negative, the behaviors are bad. But sometimes people will beat their dogs and turn around and go cuddle with them. Trauma bonding. It's a thing. It's real. And if that's what the dog does and they go get taken away or they get lost or anything else, it's not because they were beaten why they can't bond in the house or at the shelter. It's the fact that the shelter staff are not stopping to understand that dog's needs. They think it's fear, aggression. It is. But under those things, there's always some reason why, because they are not getting their emotional needs met. They don't feel safe. Always a individual. Always.
Oh, Lucy.
I love them. That's my first golden, and I absolutely adore her.
Oh yeah, I got one too. Yep.
See, now she's showing me how to play. How does she want my attention, even as annoying as I was? If I can be annoying, she's going to yes. Hear that static cling on your tail. See? Oh, you want to do cuddles instead? Okay. If you don't stop and ask.
Yep.
Yeah. If she has to keep asking, she's going to get annoying behaviors.
Yep.
But you know, the funny thing is, I've heard so many times, you are annoying the dog. Stop annoying the dog.
Well, stop and see if they want more.
Your dog doesn't annoy you, that you can't feel annoying.
Right.
And the annoyance makes you either make it stop or it makes you express in a way to redirect to get that pain. Annoyance is pain. To make it go away.
Well, especially if they're trying to connect with you, they're not getting it. They're going to try harder, and that's when they get annoying, is by barking, pawing, jumping.
Yeah.
So connect with them, and yep.
Lucy is a very obsessed humper.
Yeah, we've talked about this. So yeah.
Not with me anymore either, because I watched what you do. And so I just copied kind of what Scott does. And so whenever she humps, hang on. Whenever she humps, I start tickling her belly.
Yep.
And why not go for the belly? It's a very sensitive area.
Mm-hmm.
Response.
It's a startle response, but it's a fun area. And you wouldn't believe how she starts to play.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of humping now, she plays a lot more. So
I'll have to try that one.
instead of asking her to put all 4 feet on the floor
Or removing yourself.
or removing yourself,
That doesn't stop adrenaline. That creates
Exactly.
frustration.
Yep.
you just go kind of goofy with them, just in your way.
And if they're humping, it's overstimulation, high emotional stress. And if they're doing behaviors, that means they have adrenaline coursing through their brain. If you have adrenaline coursing through your brain and your body, that means you have to move. That's just science. Your sympathetic nervous system makes you fight, flight, or be excited. If your dog's anxious, you're going to go into fear. Your dog's probably going to run away. If your dog's going to attack, it still has adrenaline in it. We want them to be excited. You make them excited, and sometimes that startle response. What happened? Did they get you? What? And they jump to you. Oh my God, you're so crazy. But they see that remember, when you're upset, you're ready to fight or flight. Dude, it's what we call tunnel vision. You're so focused on that, you don't recognize everything else. So when you have to look at something else, you're going to show that, hey, that's frustrating. All right, we'll make it better. How do you want me to make it better? I'm in a good mood. And if I'm in a good mood, the things are going to bother me a lot less. Unless you flat out attack me, then we're going into trauma.
Right.
All those little connection seeking behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Little eyes of evolution. So if they're overstimulated, that means you didn't meet their needs to begin with. So the adrenaline, of course, it's part of its impulse control. The humping is basically like OCD, meaning a physical and emotional need are happening at the exact same time. Emotional need to come to you to play was not met. Whether it's because you weren't ready or whatever, it happens. We're not going to meet every single emotional need right away. Sometimes it takes those mistakes of, crap, my dog's humping me. Crap, my dog attacks me. Crap, my dog's acting out. Crap, my dog ran away. Dog ate all the garbage. I got to put the garbage away. My dog's allergic to something. Those are all mistakes, but you learn from them. You always are learning. Even if it doesn't matter, you'd be like, I can piss you off. Like we could be toe to toe, face to face, ready to square off, waiting for one of us to make the first move, throw the first punch. We're still learning. I can be yelling at you. I'm still learning because I'm studying your body language. I may not see the cop come up behind us. You might. And that's why you might get quiet, because now it looks like aggressive. I get thrown on the ground. You're like, I didn't have to do nothing. That was rewarding for you. You didn't have to throw the first punch. All these different things, your brain is always learning. You just don't see the whole environment. So when people say you're not in a receptive state of mind, they're correct, because if I'm yelling at you, I'm not listening. Right. But I'm still gathering information.
You still learn.
I'm still learning, always. And because I'm at a high state of arousal, my brain is holding onto it harder. So that's why you remember smells in a stressful situation. When you feel safe, you love grandma's apple pie or whatever. For me, it's roses. And sometimes something might startle you and you go, I don't know why, but I just don't like right-hand turns. I've never been into an accident. Maybe I was asleep and I got woken up and my brain thought I had to survive because I had a bad dream at the moment when I woken up going around corner. Who knows? We don't always know. And we don't always have to figure it out, but our brain knows. And it's always designed for us to survive and thrive so that we can feel better. She came excited. She was whining, so she was going through panic grief. She came in, immediately saw us, started to feel better. She went from her panic grief and jumped to play. Her oxytocin levels, her opioid levels were like, dude, they're totally so much better right now that I get to go play.
So why didn't you tell her to sit and give treats? Would you have?
No, why?
Okay, that's what I'm asking you.
If she's already in a good mood, wants to play. Bye, Nathan. Did you leave us?
Nathan?
Also here.
Okay.
Okay.
I just blinked in. I just ended up having to look at myself. I didn't like that. But I'm still in a good mood. I just don't want to see myself. All that stuff is important. Probably left us so we can go to the bathroom.
What? You watching me?
So, I was asking Scott, why didn't he just use treats and training,
And make her sit and stay.
make her sit and stay instead of doing what he's doing?
Do you want her to sit or do you want her to relax?
But this is what's going to make her relax, engage in a way that she needs.
Because that's her way.
She went through panic grief, and she saw us and started feeling immediately better, even though we weren't receptive to it.
What would you call where she's at now then?
Right
Care
now,
or
in her care.
okay.
Yeah, she's in her care.
What if you're even just hanging out would be still care?
Yeah, you both can be in their care at the same time. It's always individual. But when somebody asks you for help, the best option is to offer care, not fix it.
Right.
Offer care. That's why a lot of people, like, especially kids, they always, my daughter, I always promised that I would never fix her situation. I wanted her to feel safe enough to go out and explore, but I also, if she felt upset, that I was going to be there for her and let her cry. If she wanted to yell at me, fine, yell at me. You are free to express yourself. Because if she feels safe enough to express herself with me, she's not going out causing trouble.
Right.
If she feels safe enough, it only lasts for so long. Fear and rage only are supposed to last for a few minutes. Then you're supposed to be social. If she's already being social while expressing rage, that's two emotional systems working together. She's going to get into her positive and stay social and want to, then we can go, all right, you want to get some ice cream? Do you want to go relax? What do you think we should do about this? Then they can start offering words and they can start handling the conflict. Then they start using their brain and go, okay, so this is what's really bothering me and I think I could find a way to fix it. Maybe I just need to vent.
Yeah.
You've got to vent.
And what you're doing right now, I have to get to that point with every dog, and that's kind of a starting point. You get the dog relaxed, calm, and then you build from there.
Well, see, like this part right here. So when she and I go outside again, if we were to go play again, it's going to be a totally different style of play. When she was playing earlier, it was selfish. It was all about how she can, well, actually, no, it wasn't, because there's too much going on. Small of a room. Mom wasn't paying attention. She had to settle for me. So that stress is going to be faster. But if she comes in and we get to actually play, it's going to be rough and tumble. She's going to be all crazy. And then we'll do this, we'll settle. And then when it's time to go play again, okay, let's go out and go potty. We've got that rest. So even through that high stimulating situation, she's literally just daydreaming now. So what's happening now is her brain is processing how to actually get all that play. Because she showed me a lot of how she needs behaviors. Because like I said, she came in for mom. She came in and that wasn't receptive. So she had to, I forced her, focus on me. But I made it a little bit more fun until mom can do it. And then through all that learning, she saw that mom was not available. So her need, her desire was not met. But when she came and starts to settle down, we're still here. Mom is still here. So this is all still learning, that high stress situation, and that is stress. That high stimulating is stress. It was just positive stress.
Yep.
It's not trauma. It's not chronic stress because we're working through it. I'm not letting her hold on to it or making her dismissing her. Dogs don't have the cognitive function to constantly go through chronic stress. They are focusing on you and how you're going to handle the stress with them. If you don't help them de-stress, you don't let them vent, you don't let them do, express themselves, they're never really going to get over it. Anxiety is 100% natural, which means it's genetic.
Right. And I just want to, you played with her for what, maybe like 3 minutes. You met her need, you got her calm. She's, versus people that are like, well, I got to take them for 2-3 walks a day. I got to do all this extra stuff, and they still can't relax or calm down. Versus,
All right.
We were saying, yeah.
So now she's hyped up again, right?
Yep.
So I'll match her. But she's farted, so
Oh, jeez.
small,
You gotta
right?
go outside, huh? You got a potty?
Did you poof? Did you poof? Look,
Well,
I'm
and-
stressed.
And one of
And
the things,
redirection. Her redirection.
Yep.
and one of
Yep.
the things is too,
Match.
instead of Scott looking at this as unwanted behavior,
It is unwanted behavior.
no, instead of you that's unwanted behavior and you having to tell her what she needs to
Your
do.
shot collar, yeah. Bad dog.
Yes.
Ready? You want to come?
He's giving her what she needs,
Yep.
You're gonna get in trouble. I know you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna...
She's a...
Girl, thank you. You okay? You got it?
This is turning into the Lucy show here.
Again?
Lucy, got some explaining to do.
Yeah, I know what you're really trying to do. Where did it go?
My puppy's already blind because of you.
Oh, that she already has an association with that puppy. It's now she's playing.
Two puppies.
Lissy, can I see it?
Can you get it? Go get it.
Lissy, here's the thing. I say, can I help you with it? It's going to be, am I going to help her with it?
Mhm.
I don't have treats to trade. Let me see, Lissy. Let me see. Out, please. Lissy. Can I get it? Thank you. Oh, goodness gracious. Hold on, son. Let me out.
Nice butt.
Okay, she's not allowed to have these. These are in this room for a reason. So she's not allowed to have these. So now we're going to work. Thank you, Lucy. And I've already let her go up on the chair because I thought it was fun. I see him. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. But thank you. That's that little thing that most people, you're not saying good, but you're thanking them for doing,
Thank you, Lucy. Good girl. Leave him alone, please. Thank you. Hold on.
There you go.
I stopped her. I don't want her to go forward. Thank you, Lucy.
Sorry.
Conversation never ends with dogs. Never.
Hi, son. Sorry, everybody.
No, that's all right.
Thank you.
Just trying to set the
Good
camera
deal.
up again. We don't have a training room, so is it good?
Thank you, Lucy.
You want to see what mine looks like? Look at that messy mess. That's why I got the background.
Well, she was worried about seeing. Well, now you can see all of your mess. Now it's a mess.
Oh, that's okay. It's too late now.
So in the beginning of this thing, I had, and if you notice the beginning, there was these cabinets and these drawers.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't see. They'll show that stuff on camera, but I made her leave it. How much more is exposed because we established a relationship? How much more laughter we've had? What do you think, Lucy?
That's right.
Thank you, Lucy.
Oh.
You cannot have them. You cannot have them. You cannot have them. You cannot have them. See? Oh, crap.
Huh?
You cannot have them. Oh my God, you cannot have them. You cannot. Oh, you cannot. You cannot. Wait, Lucy. Where's your bone? Where's your bone?
What was that?
You trying to get everybody? Yeah.
All right, gang. It's 10:30, almost my time. So
No.
I definitely want to do this again. Let's see, to cover everything. Anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch upon?
You didn't give me any chance to talk, so I've got a lot to say.
I know. It's all right. You can have me on a podcast and tell me when to shut up. No.
Fun.
And I love to talk too. I did my best to not just talk the whole time and let you guys talk, so I hope I did all right with that.
Are there any more questions you have? Anything that?
I think I'm good. I know all how to get a hold of you guys. I know you're on Facebook and Instagram. And are you on Instagram too, or just YouTube? I know you got one, Scott, and you two, Diana.
Yes.
Facebook channel. Effective Dog Behavior is a website too, right?
Yes. Effective.
Okay, so I'll put links to all those.
Effectivedog.com.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, I have literally a playlist of probably like 300 videos based on things you've told me or showed me or told me to look into. In the job concept is, I think I've got like 100 and something videos of his. Robert Sapolsky, I think, another good guy. Well, I'm sure there's quite a few more. I'm trying to get a list of kind of resources or, what people can look into if they're interested. In addition to, obviously your book when it comes out, the talks you're giving. You're coming up to my area, Rochester, New York, I think August, we're looking.
Yes.
And I'm excited for that. And you're doing a tour. I know you got the little pins on the map of where you're going or want to go. So good for you guys. And that whiteboard you have behind me, if you could send me a shot of that, because it was kind of hard to see, but I want to let people show what you were referencing.
Yes.
And I think it's backwards, or it was before.
Well, okay. Will you take the camera and put that on there? Because
your t-shirts are right, but the board was backward. I can't tell right now if it's backwards or forwards.
Because I was told by somebody to write it backwards, so it would be visible. Well, now, okay,
nope.
I can read it. Can you?
Yeah, it's backwards to me. Your t-shirts are right.
Oh.
See, now I look at my t-shirts. It's backwards.
Yeah. There's a button where you can mirror your image so it looks the right way to you.
In that mirror. But see, this looks backwards to me.
Nope. Second to no one, Canine Life Coach. That's you, right? Your training.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it was backwards. See, when we put the camera on that, and I looked on the computer, it was good. I can read what it said looking into the camera.
But always keep in mind that we are kind of backwards anyway.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah. Poetic.
And then look, the dog is calmly chewing on her Kong by her, not with me, not needing me.
Yep.
Not having to have the interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I see it every day. Calm, the excitement, interaction, the bonding. And I'm like, you can have this with your dog. It takes a little bit of work and changing your mindset, but once you understand why and how, and you get that bond, it happens pretty quickly.
I'm glad you just mentioned mindset again, because mindset, if you have positive mindset, you're releasing different neurochemicals than when you have a negative mindset. Okay. So that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind.
We don't mean you have to be positive
all mindset. The time.
It's not a different.
Yay! That I can see, the effective dog behavior. Yep.
What do you think about effective? It's affection. So the more if we start, why is affection so important to us? Why do we want to cuddle? Why do we want kisses and touch from our spouses? We need that because it's a result. Like oxytocin is being released before the touch. So if your dog's anticipating you touching them and they like you, and Gregory Burns has discussed this, Dr. Gregory Burns discussed this when he did his MRI testing. And that's something that people don't focus on. He was trying to figure out which was more rewarding to the dog. Treats, strangers, what happens to the brain when this happens? The owners weren't even in the room. I don't know if it was because of a release cue or what, but when they said bring in the owners, the oxytocin release was the amount of oxytocin just at the announcement of their human coming into the room was greater than hot dogs and everything else combined.
Wow.
Connection.
Yeah, it's not getting the reward, it's anticipating getting it.
It's the expectation. And because what are you going to do with it? Like, if you can expect it, I'm expecting, and this is a scientific thing too. Like, if I told you this was the best steakhouse in the world, or whatever. So you said, we'll use steakhouse because that was what I'm familiar with. We bonded over steak, right? And I told you, when you come out here to Cali, I've got the best steakhouse in the world. You got the greatest sauces. It's got the greatest sides. You're the waitresses. Anything that was appealing to you, I catered to and said, there's none, bar none, second to no one, right? That's a lot to live up to. There's actually a term, I don't remember what it's called, but if it's that me building all that up and you're like, yeah, and if it doesn't meet your standard, it's going to be one of the worst things you've ever had. Mm-hmm. That's a scientific term. I don't remember what it is.
Well,
expectancy theory.
What was that?
Expectancy theory, I think. If it meets or exceeds your expectations versus if it doesn't.
Yeah, I can't remember.
How much has been built up. Yeah, I'll look it up. Good topic to talk.
And also, as far as the expectation versus the reward, look at how often you might get excited over buying a new car, or you get excited over buying a new house. And the moment when you sign the paperwork, you actually go through a state of buyer's remorse.
Yep. The dopamine decreases. Yep.
Everybody does, Yep. So that's expectation versus reward.
And then there's also Simone Gabois, I probably said his name wrong again, discusses liking. So your seeking system has the wanting, the expectation, which will also lead to the liking part of it. So that's why we like. And we like this conversation. We like this conversation, Nathan. I swear to God, we like this conversation. Yes. We like this conversation.
No problem.
But just like those simple little things, it's the liking can be as very simple. You don't have to love it or enjoy it, but you'll like certain little things because the way the brain is set up. So you want to not just repeat good habits or reinforce the good stuff, but it's also so you stay away from the dangers. So you look at a danger and go, I know if I walk over here, it's going to be more rewarding. I like it over here. I like the dog. I like hanging out with mom or dad. I like getting kibble versus beef liver. All these different things, but it's the expectations that we're always so focused on with dogs.
Right.
Which is important. That's the dopamine. The dopamine isn't the satisfaction. It's the expectation of it.
Yep. Yeah, that was the biggest thing that kind of changed my perception of it. It's not getting the thing, it's expecting it. And once you get it, it actually, it goes down, and now you're like, well, what's next? And if they're only in it to get that piece for that treat, it's like, well, did they expect it? Did you give them that kind of that lag that they need to have that, oh, I really want it, and then you get it. So you don't just say yes and throw the piece of food immediately. It's yes, that they look at you. Do you have something for me? Oh, thank you so much. Now you're giving it to them. And then it's you, that whole feeling of it's coming from you, like a gift even.
Wow.
Or, you're providing for them. And, we threw around that term alpha earlier. Obviously, we know it's a mating pair, and it has no place in dog training with humans, but it's still there, and it was, wolves. But as far as we're providing resources, protection, safety, food, shelter, fun, connection, and, engagement, those are all things we provide.
So Franz de Waal, what he says is with the alpha is actually more stressed, just as stressed as a submissive, the lower ranking male. But what people don't understand is what Franz de Waal found out is when you bring a colony of gorillas over, or you just study a colony of gorillas, the alpha male actually has to break up fights, has to console the loser, has to make sure everybody else gets fed. But he also said that there's also a coalition that will help get certain males elected.
Yep.
So there's so much more that just alpha is not just being a certain type of personality type. You have to be like a leader, like
Yep.
not to being an alpha.
You have to be worthy.
You have to, and exactly, you have to be worthy. Because
a benevolent leader.
I tell people the relationship with dogs and humans is more like your cousin. You have that emotional response to them. You want to take care of them, you know, the younger cousin, not older cousin.
Yeah, right.
You can look out for somebody that's going to enjoy coming over to you, somebody that's happy to see you almost all the time. You don't have to worry about punishments.
Right.
If there is a punishment, you can get over it quicker. You're like, yeah, I don't like you right now. Go away. Why don't you go outside? I don't want to go outside. You know, all those different things where you're more likely to be a little bit more free in your emotions. Because if you're a little bit more free in your emotions, you're still in the moment. You're not
Right.
anticipating negative or highly stressing yourself out.
And you can be a little more playful about things, you know, go out, have some fun.
Yeah.
You guys have a little friction or a little rough spot, you get over it, you know, you hug it out.
Exactly. Like we're not going to have that mother-father or parent-sibling relationship. We didn't birth them. We didn't raise them in those first few months or first few weeks of nursing and the oxytocin released through the breast milk. You're not going to replace that. Everybody knows who their mother is. Your brain understands mother, father, and then understands after like a certain point in time, grandmother, aunties, friends, playmates, and other different forms of relationships. I wish you guys would shut up and let me talk.
Right. Diana, any last words?
Well, here we go.
Thank you very much for everything.
No problem. This is great. I really, really appreciate it. I look forward to you guys coming to visit and having more chats and conversations. And who knows, maybe we'll come up with 2 new things to talk about between now and then.
Yes.
I guarantee.
We just have to put that stress ball in his mouth a little sooner.
Right? Or, you know, find something else to do.
I was looking for a tape because you know taking that off would have hurt. I would have put it on.
Some duct tape? Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. Oh.
Not this time.
Well,
All right, guys. Well,
viewing that, if you have any questions, you know, we do have the website, effectivedog.com. Contact us, Facebook page, and if you have any questions, if you want to learn more about this, because this movement has started, it is not going to stop.
No.
it's a paradigm shift.
Yes.
Changing how we think and yep.
The emotional approach is not going to go away.
No.
Not going to go away anymore.
And the more we learn, the more we can better
They're
see
already
what we got to do.
going in that direction now, you know, so
Well,
questions, just reach out, contact us. You can contact Nathan or you can contact us.
I'll try to put all the information in the, you know, so they can have it right there when they watch it.
Yes.
You're one of our first,
Right, so-
one of our, you know, beginning members of the group anyways, too. You know that, right?
I know, yeah, it's been like not quite a year, but for a while, yeah, it's definitely grown. And you know, I try to find interesting articles and stuff to talk about.
Yeah. And
Yes.
it's fun because, like, when we're doing this, like, we get to see how you guys grow as well, too. Like today, we
Yes.
had that girl with ADHD that posted stuff.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, wait, Scott, you're wrong. And I'm like, of course, I'm like, no. But I had to, like,
That's
I
funny.
went through her stuff, you know, started doing a lot more research and then I cross-checked with what Yock says. And yeah, of course she has it, but I want to make sure that we've got people that have trauma on there that want to discuss certain things. They come to us
Right.
feel safe because they don't feel safe in other groups. And then that makes them want to learn. Like, people are really tired of what's going on with the therapies because they don't feel safe. It's not helping them. And these are humans that can think for themselves.
Yeah, it's you know, you can't change everybody's mind overnight, but you know, we can definitely keep just showing, you know, look what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Neuroplasticity takes a while to reshape the brain,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but it will happen.
And yep, and you know, the longer you've been doing it one way, the harder it is to change. But you know, there's definitely easier and more humane ways of doing it than in the past. So,
Yep.
all right. Well, kudos to you guys. Once again, I appreciate everything you're doing.
I
Keep
appreciate
it up.
it.
I'm gonna get out now, okay?
All right, sounds good. Have a good night, guys.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
Nathan.
you.
Really appreciate this, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
No problem.